Chapter 1979. We've slept together, and we have a child. Although things on Azura's side were tranquil and there was no news, Yuanwan was still overcome with nervousness and unease. After all, the circumstances were unusual this time. All the missing people were powerful figures, and Si Yihan was a member of the ancient clan's collateral branch, so she truly couldn't help but worry. Hence, after some deliberation, she decided to directly call Si Yihan. When no one picked up her call after calling twice, Yuanwan started sending messages. "Where are you right now? Return my call. Quick!" Yuanwan catapulted 3 messages in a row, but the recipient still didn't respond. She knew she was just scaring herself, but she still became anxious. In her anxiousness, she started bombarding him with messages continuously. "Quickly return my message. Return my message already. Answer me." Big Dipper and 7 Star turned to each other as they caught Yuanwan swiftly tapping her phone and sending messages. Sis Feng is sending messages to that vinegar owner again. Damn, is she crazy? This mindless message bombing doesn't resemble our Sis Feng's flirting techniques. It's more like she's an idiotic teenage girl whose intelligence went into the negative after falling passionately in love. 7 Star ignored Big Dipper's ridicule, but his expression was rather worried. Sis Feng's attitude toward this owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory was rather unusual. Simultaneously at Azura's headquarters, in the enormous conference room, the atmosphere was oddly grim as many Azura higher-ups were gathered and discussing how the leaders of some major factions in the independent state went missing for no reason recently. At that moment, a string of ringtones was abruptly heard inside the deadly silent and stifling conference room. And the source of the ringtone actually originated from their boss. Everyone reflexively looked up and promptly saw their lord dazedly staring at his phone, which was sitting on the table. He didn't say anything, nor did he make any move to accept the call until the call broke off on its own. Soon, the phone started ringing again, and this time, their lord still didn't accept it. Whose call caused their lord to be so conflicted and absent-minded? As the higher-ups looked at each other in confusion and allowed their imagination to run wild with speculations, their lord's phone started ringing with message tones like a series of cannonballs, one after the other, and they increased in speed. The only sound in the conference room was the swift ringing of ding, ding, ding. Jiang Yan's brows furrowed as he glanced at his lord. His lord rarely used a cell phone, and that phone was his private cell phone, which went off even more rarely. So what was going on today? Lin Ke was sitting to the right of Si Yihan and peeked at his 9th brother's phone from the corner of his eyes. The scene greeting him was hair-raising. Message notifications wildly danced across the screen like there was a glitch. Ahem, 9th brother. What's happening with your phone? Did it get a virus? Lin Ke whispered after leaning closer. Si Yihan imperceptibly sighed as he stared at his cheerfully ringing phone. Finally, he picked up the phone like he was relenting and he unlocked the screen. Lin Ke finally saw the sender of those messages. MW. MW? Whose alias is this? Lin Ke was wondering as more messages continuously arrived in Si Yihan's phone. Since Si Yihan's phone was unlocked, Lin Ke managed to get a peek of the message's contents. MW, reply to me already. MW, reply to me. MW. You can reply with a punctuation mark too. MW. Answer me with a period. Quick. MW. Why haven't you replied yet? MW. I'll give you 10 seconds. If you still don't reply to me, I'll jump to the roof of the Martial Arts Union's headquarters and use a loudspeaker to announce to everyone that we've slept together and we have a 5-year-old child. Chapter 1980. Planted headfirst into a sea of vinegar. Lin Ke. Alright, he didn't need to guess anymore. Based on this audacious style, he could tell it was that idiot, Yuanwan. However, why the heck was her alias MW? He couldn't figure out what acronym it was. Did it have some special meaning? MW10, MW9, MW8. While Yuanwan counting down, Lin Ke was trying to guess how long his 9th brother could hold on. In the end, after Yuanwan sent 7, he saw his 9th brother clicking into the input field. Then the man waited until the final second before using his slender finger to reply with a period. Lin Ke sighed. Why, he has a tight leash around him. Several days ago, when ninth brother returned in the middle of his date with Yuanwan, his expression was so frightening that Lin Ke didn't dare to stay within 10 steps of him for a few days. Lin Ke hypothesized that there had to be some enormous romantic trouble, and they might have even broken up, so he probably wouldn't be stuffed with dog food for a while. Who knew? He still underestimated Yi Wanwan's shamelessness. How could that woman act like this? Her beau was clearly ignoring her, so she should at least act more reserved and ignore him too. Why would you madly barrage him with messages? What astounded Lin Ke even more was his ninth brother's reaction. This period was sent to obediently, right? Currently at the Fearless Alliance. Her fingers were aching from her typing, her phone was heating up, and her keys were about to break from her typing, so Yuanwan finally stopped her bombardment. Yuanwan was incredibly satisfied as she stared at the little period sitting on her phone screen. Her darling was seriously adorable. Damn. How did he respond? Why is Sisfeng smiling like an idiot? Just what kind of sweet talk is it? Is this vinegar owner that slick? Big Dipper was over himself with curiosity and sneakily leaned closer to take a peek. Just what in the world did he send? 7-Star pretended to be uninterested on the surface, but his gaze subconsciously trailed Big Dipper. Big Dipper leaned closer with difficulty. A second later, his face froze. Detecting Big Dipper's peeping, Yuanwan shot him a glare and clutched her phone like it was a treasure. Do you want to die, huh? Big Dipper was incredulous. Sisfeng, did you take the wrong medicine? Or did this vinegar owner feed you some poisonous vinegar? Fuck. You sent so many messages to him, but he didn't respond with a single word. He responded with just a period. Yet you're so happy? When 7-Star heard Big Dipper, his face was also indescribable. Just a period? Yuanwan continued to look at her phone in euphoria and uncaringly answered. What would a single loner like you know? Sisfeng, talking is fine, but how could you attack me so personally? Big Dipper protested. Yuanwan ignored him and kept sending messages as she casually asked. Prison's conference is tomorrow, right? Big Dipper nodded. Yes, that's right. And alright, got it. Yuanwan waved her hand, signaling he could get lost. Big Dipper scratched his head and curiously mumbled to himself. Just what kind of divine being is this vinegar owner? At Azura. When the higher-ups saw their lord's phone finally stopping its crazy ringing, they simultaneously relaxed. Utterly frightening. Was there some urgent news? Ding dong. Another ring was heard. Si Yihan read Yi Wanwan's reply. MW. I'm glad you're fine. I thought you also got kidnapped by goblins. Kidnapped by goblins? Si Yihan mulled it over as he stared at the message. She was probably referring to the fact that many leaders went missing recently. His current information told him that Ji Xiuran also disappeared. Is she panicking? Yuanwan never would have imagined that a certain person who just got pacified a little bit planted headfirst into a sea of vinegar once again, because of his own imagination filling in the blanks. Chapter 1981. Don't want to have children with him. Si Yihan silently stared at the screen full of messages from Yuanwan, especially at the "we've slept together, and we have a 5-year-old child" part. We have a 5-year-old child. Heh, if that was the truth, it would probably be the most blessed thing that had ever happened to him. Back then, in the thick of their passion, he once casually said, "If we have a child in the future," but was interrupted by her before he could finish. He could clearly remember the panic and rejection in her expression as she said she didn't like children at all, and definitely wouldn't have any. It wasn't that she didn't like children. She merely didn't want to have children with him, right? Ever since then, he had never brought up this topic again. Yuanwan had no idea that Si Yihan had sunken into a deeper and sourer sea of vinegar by this point. Instead, she was flipping through the missions she accepted last time to see which one she could finish in the shortest amount of time and obtain her honor points. Right now, she urgently wanted to recover her memories, especially the ones with Si Yihan. In her previous hypnosis sessions, she truly didn't recover many memories related to Si Yihan. Last time, she finished an S+ rank mission and an S rank mission and broke 2 records, earning 45,000 honor points. 5,000 more honor points and she could request a 3rd hypnosis session from the headmaster. However, What was tragic was that she still owed the headmaster 20,000 honor points, and that old fox probably wouldn't get tricked so easily this time, and allow her to have an outstanding account again. So she probably needed to get her hands on more honor points first. In other words, combined with the 20,000 honor points she owed, she needed 25,000 honor points. Finishing 1S plus or S rank missions would be enough, but that was easier said than done. She couldn't trick her way through all of the high-ranked missions. And which one should I do? These lousy missions are too difficult. Yuan was going to turn bald from her worry. What's this? Steal back Scarlet Flame's Academy's school monument? Huh. What does stealing back Scarlet Flame's Academy's school monument mean? A school monument can be stolen? That thing is such an old and big piece of rock. It wasn't worth anything, nor was it engraved with any secret martial techniques. It was only engraved with the words Scarlet Flame's Academy, and the Academy's rules and motto, so who would be so bored as to steal such a thing? 7-Star replied. 7 years ago, the school monument at the entrance of Scarlet Flame's Academy vanished without a trace. The next day, someone discovered the culprit leaving behind the name of Heavenly Hatred's leader, Jiang Lihan. People say Jiang Lihan used to be a student at Scarlet Flame's Academy, and was also an SSS rank mercenary. In the end, he was expelled from Scarlet Flame's Academy due to seriously violating the rules. Jiang Lihan nursed this grievance in his heart, so he stole Scarlet Flame's Academy school monument. Yuan finished. Yes, 7-Star responded. This person's way of thinking is truly odd. This revenge was seriously revolting. I won't attack you or kill you. I'll just directly take your school monument with the school rules. This was an extraordinary source of shame and humiliation to such an ancient and well-known academy. 7-Star elaborated. Because of this, the higher-ups at Scarlet Flame's Academy were furious and issued this S-rank mission to all the students. This mission is open to everyone in the independent state, not just members of the academy. As long as they can help retrieve the school monument, Scarlet Flames will give a generous reward. Unfortunately, it's been 7 years but not a single person was able to retrieve the school monument. Yuan rubbed her chin, realization dawning on her. Tut, no wonder it's worth so many honor points. Chapter 1982. It's a travesty you're dressed like this. Ah. How valuable. How valuable. There weren't many missions of S rank or higher, and missions that were ST rank were even rarer. So obtaining so many honor points in such a short amount of time was truly too difficult. Big Dipper frightfully cried. Sis Feng, you aren't thinking about doing this mission, right? It's Heavenly Hatred, an entity scarier than Azura. Actually, both Heavenly Hatred and Azura had equal strength as part of Prison's 3 core factions. Azura might even be a tad superior, but Azura went into hiding for many years while Heavenly Hatred maintained its high-profile activity. So Heavenly Hatred was more infamous in the independent state. Yuan irritatedly retorted. Am I mad? Why would I serve my head on a silver platter for no reason? That mission is a pass. There's no way I could do it. However, right now she had trouble coming from within, so she urgently needed to recover her memories. Tomorrow's conference was such a good opportunity, and she'd be able to see the leader of Heavenly Hatred. So perhaps she could negotiate with him directly and see if she could obtain it somehow. The probability was low, but it was 15,000 honor points. Soon the next day arrived. Yuan turned her wardrobe upside down and finally pulled out a princess dress. Big Dipper was utterly flabbergasted. Sis Feng, you aren't planning to wear this dress, right? Calm down. I'm begging you. This is Prison's conference. If you wear this dress there, will be ridiculed by the entire independent state for a whole year. Yuan glared at him. Don't be ridiculous. What about this dress, huh? It's so pretty. Big Dipper stared at the dress in Yuan's hands. It couldn't be any pinker and was covered in flowery lace borders and ribbons, and had a matching pair of white knee-high socks. It was seriously too cute. Big Dipper clutched his nose. It is pretty. But you're the president of the Fearless Alliance. It'd be a travesty if you wore this. Yuan's face darkened. She was a girl too. So how was it a travesty if she wore this? Yuan blurted without thinking. I'm going on a date. Do you want me to wear that dirty and scraggy beggar outfit there? That's a travesty. Big Dipper date. Isn't she going to a conference? Are you too lazy to even conceal your intentions? Don't you already have your vinegar factory owner? Why haven't you given up on Lord Azura yet? Can you digest them all? While Big Dipper launched complaint after complaint inwardly, 7-Star contributed his opinion from the side. Lord Azura probably won't like this outfit. Yi Wanwan was startled. Oh right. That guy's taste had always been very strange, and regardless of what she wore, it would probably be the same to him. Tisk fine, I'll wear my normal outfit. Yi Wanwan pursed her lips unhappily. Big Dipper released a fierce sigh of relief and quietly whispered, Old 7, good job. In the end, Yi Wanwan still wore the Fearless Alliance's uniform, her signature black beggar's clothes. It was loose and casual but not as tattered as before. 7-Star had tailored a brand new, custom-made outfit for her with a gigantic Fearless, embroidered in cursive on the back. This outfit complemented and suited Yi Wanwan's languid and nonchalant aura rather well, giving her the feeling of an expert. Yi Wanwan was reluctantly satisfied as she surveyed herself in the mirror and finally entered the car, heading for the location of the conference. Prison seriously knew how to treat themselves. The conference was held at a hot springs resort. It had gorgeous scenery and was equipped with all sorts of entertainment options and services. The conference started at night, so everyone could have some fun and relax before the conference. Chapter 1983. Taking this face into consideration, Si Yihan still acted aloof toward Yi Wanwan and wouldn't answer, unless she madly bombarded him in messages. However, Yi Wanwan didn't mind and would send a few messages whenever she was free regardless of whether he responded or not. As soon as she arrived and got out of the car, she sent him a message. Darling, I'm here. Are you also here? Big Dipper happened to see the message Yi Wanwan sent to the owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory, and his eyes popped out of their sockets. Damn. What's going on? Could it be this owner of the Independent States Vinegar Factory was also one of the attendees of today's conference? Yi Wanwan didn't notice Big Dipper peeping and cheerily continued to send messages. At the same time, at a certain villa in the depths of the hot springs resort, 3 people sat under a gigantic ancient locust tree. Say, Wuxia, why are you holding a conference for no reason? Why did you have to drag me back to this terrible place from China? I'm bored to death. One of the people voiced his complaints while looking incredibly bored. He had a head of curly brown hair that reached his shoulders, and was wearing a wine-red silk dress shirt with only one button crookedly fastened by his collar, while the rest were casually unfastened. The man sitting across from the speaker had his black, short hair combed back, and was wearing an iron gray suit and a grave and stern expression. Hearing that, he took a sip of the pu'er tea from his cup before retorting in disapproval. You've already gone out and had your fun for 3 months. Isn't that enough? It's time to do business. The red shirt man pursed his lips and turned to the man who had been staring at his phone since he sat down under the shade of the tree before complaining. Hey, isn't that unfair, old Xia? I only had 3 months of fun, but Yi frolicked around in China for several years, alright? Why aren't you lecturing him? Also, that irresponsible older brother of yours flat out handed the responsibility to you before running to China to have fun. He even relied on his face and schmoozed into getting the undeserved title of Best Actor. He's deceived so many adorable young women. He's utterly shameless. Xie Qianchuan, the man wearing an iron gray suit, didn't want to mention his awful elder brother and glanced at Si Yihan. When Xie Qianchuan saw that the other man wasn't listening to them at all and had his head lost in the clouds, he exasperatedly asked, Yi, are you waiting for a call? No, the man calmly replied as he looked up, revealing a gorgeous face that made the scenery around them dim in color. Jiang Lihan was contemptuous. What? You're clearly absent-minded. Look at him, old Xia. He's obviously indulging in pleasure and forgetting his home and duties. His heart is obviously elsewhere. Don't misuse idioms, Xie Qianchuan admonished, his head pounding. At that moment, a message tone chimed from Si Yihan's phone. Si Yihan clicked open the message almost instantly. MW, darling, I'm here. Are you also here? She also came today. As though he had been waiting for this news all along, Si Yihan's worries finally eased. However, he both wanted to see her, and was afraid of seeing her. Jiang Lihan raised his brows. What happened? Did some trouble arise from the ancient clan again? Aside from that, he seriously didn't know what could dominate that guy's attention so much. Xie Qianchuan also asked, "Is it your mother?" Chilliness surfaced in Si Yihan's eyes. "She's no longer related to me." Jiang Lihan curled his lips. "That's true. You paid back everything you owed back then. So why are you so absent-minded?" Si Yihan's face was frosty. "None of your business." "Tisk, you're still as unlikable as before. However, taking your face into consideration, I'll forgive you," Jiang Lihan said. Xie Qianchuan interjected. "Ollie, have you prepared the speech I told you to prepare yet?" Chapter 1984. Damn-faced Judger. Jiang Lihan glanced at Xie Qianchuan, before promptly clutching his eyes like he was in immense agony. "Old Xie, you're too ugly. Don't talk to me. Ever since Gigi ran away and you became the leader, I've had to see your face every day. I'm at the limits of my partnership with your Slaughter's Gate. Treasure me well, alright? I've given up so much for our alliance." Xie Qianchuan's face was as dark as the bottom of a pan. No matter how you looked at it, his face was still rather handsome. It merely wasn't as pretty as his brother, that temptress, and Si Yihan's heaven-defying face. Alright? How was it too ugly? This damn-faced judger. Xie Qianchuan seriously wanted to give him a round of kicking. Jiang Lihan acted like he didn't see Xie Qianchuan's glowering expression, and stood up to stretch. Being with you two dull guys is truly too boring. I'm better off going to soak in the hot springs. Bye-bye." Before leaving, Jiang Lihan didn't forget to suicidally attempt to touch Si Yihan's face. "Yi, tell me you have such a good-looking face, so can't you show a few more expressions? Looking so serious every day is so boring." Before Jiang Lihan could touch him, Si Yihan moved away, his expressionless face so chilly it could freeze someone. "Do you want to die?" "Humph. I won't believe it. Isn't there something that can make you change your expression?" Jiang Lihan yanked his hand back and angrily walked away. Big Dipper was still in shock about the fact that the vinegar factory owner was attending today's conference when Yi Wanwan said, "There's some free time now, so do whatever you want." She couldn't express her wish to get rid of them any clearer. Out of the question. "Crooks are mixed in with the honest folks in this place, so we need to closely protect you." 7-Star was disapproving. "This is a conference hosted by prison, so who would dare to cause trouble here? Don't worry, you two, just treat this as a vacation. It's not good to enjoy being a third wheel at such a young age." After saying that, Yi Wanwan ditched Big Dipper and 7-Star, and headed toward the entrance to the hot springs resort by herself with the invitation in hand. "Big Dipper, 7-Star. The last sentence was the main point, right?" After entering the resort, Yi Wanwan started strolling around randomly, without a destination in mind. She didn't have any other methods since there was no way she could meet with the leader of heavenly hatred at her current level, and it wouldn't be convenient to talk during the conference itself, so she had to try her luck. Yi Wanwan seemed to have arrived early since the place was fairly empty and she didn't run into any people. As she went deeper down the path, mist curled around the air as she entered the hot springs. Yi Wanwan crossed a path made of blue stones, and saw a person soaking in the hot springs up ahead. The man's back was to her, so she couldn't see his face. Seeing someone there, Yi Wanwan was about to turn around when an odd feeling struck her, halting her steps. This person's silhouette was somewhat familiar. Whether it was before she lost her memories or after, she had never seen the leader of heavenly hatred, so she searched for photos of Jiang Lihan from some newspapers and magazines in the independent state. Heavenly hatred and Slaughter's Gate, especially heavenly hatred, were very high profile and made frequent public appearances, so photos of them weren't difficult to find. She remembered Jiang Lihan had a head of signature brown, curly hair that reached his shoulders. Just like this man soaking in the hot spring in front of her. Could it be? Yi Wanwan furtively asked. "Gang leader. Jiang." When the man in the hot spring heard this, he lazily opened his eyes and turned to look behind him. Chapter 1985. What was there to treasure about that thing? The man turned around. accompanied by the sound of water splashing. Yi Wanwan's face filled joyful surprise when she recognized the man as Jiang Lihan. Gang leader Jiang. Nice to meet you. Yi Wanwan hastily greeted. You are. The man examined the girl with narrowed eyes, a sharp glint flashing through them. Yi Wanwan directly turned around, showing him the characters on her back. Oh, the Fearless Alliance. Jiang Lihan lightly chuckled due to Yi Wanwan's unique self-introduction. Nice to meet you, President Bai. Want to join me for a soak? Yi Wanwan, please. Can't someone treat me like a woman? Ahem, no thanks. Actually, I was specifically looking for you, gang leader Jiang, because I have a request to make. I didn't expect to be so lucky and really run into you. Yi Wanwan frankly said. Oh, Jiang Lihan sardonically glanced at her. Actually, if this was any other day and someone interrupted my soak in the hot springs, they'd probably be a corpse by now. Yi Wanwan reflexively took a step back. This man in front of her really wasn't someone to be trifled with. However, Jiang Lihan looked her up and down before finally focusing on her face. However, your face is enough to make me give you 3 minutes. Yi Wanwan, should I feel honored? Jiang Lihan slouched forward on the side of the hot spring and continued, his eyes bright. If you're willing to change into female clothes and come see me again in a dress, perhaps I can give you 5 minutes. Yi Wanwan. That's a viable approach too? Jiang Lihan continued. If you're willing to let down your long hair, I can give you another minute. Yi Wanwan. I'm so grateful to you. At that moment, Yi Wanwan felt Lady Luck smiling on her. So this Jiang Lihan was probably a kindred spirit? An awful face judger too? She had only heard that this guy had a terrible sense of humor and liked to pull pranks. Why didn't she discover he was also a face judger? She didn't expect her face to come into use too, an unexpected gain. Ahem, 3 minutes is enough. Yi Wanwan quickly answered after calming down. Jiang Lihan looked regretful. All right then, tell me whatever you want. Yi Wanwan swiftly expressed her intentions. I want the school monument of Scarlet Flames Academy. Name a price, gang leader Jiang. Jiang Lihan was initially startled before promptly laughing out loud. Little girl, you seriously know how to make crazy demands. Don't you know that thing is my most prized and adored possession in my life? Yi Wanwan. She really didn't understand what there was to treasure about that thing. Jiang Lihan combed back the wet hair hanging on his forehead. Every time I see that thing, I can imagine that old codger's furiously stomping appearance. It's truly too fun, isn't it? Yi Wanwan. When he says that old codger, he's referring to the elderly headmaster of Scarlet Flames Academy, right? This person really has a terrible sense of humor. The rumors are completely right about this part. Then, what would make you willing to give that school monument to me? Anything as long as it's within my capabilities. Yi Wanwan made another attempt. Jiang Lihan hummed in contemplation as he mulled over it. Well, it's not improbable. As long as you can show me a better, more fun spectacle. Yi Wanwan was exasperated. How can I show him a more fun spectacle? What better spectacle are you referring to, gang leader Jiang? Yi Wanwan tentatively inquired. Chapter 1986. Will you play or not? Let me think. Jiang Lihan lowered his head in serious contemplation and snapped his fingers a few seconds later. Oh right, do you know Lord Azura? Have you seen him? I know him. I've seen him. Yi Wanwan didn't expect him to suddenly mention Lord Azura, so she was briefly startled. Jiang Lihan sighed. That guy is seriously too boring. I really want to see something interesting from him. So what do you want to see? Yi Wanwan asked. How about you forcefully kiss him and let me see his reaction? Jiang Lihan looked energized, thinking that he thought of a splendid idea. Yi Wanwan's eyes shot open, and she was silent for a while. Are you serious? Why would he have such a strange request? Also, boss, do you know? This might be a freebie point. Of course I'm serious. How about it? Will you take a shot? You have to know what that guy hates the most is other people touching him, especially women. If you dare, I'll give you what you want. Jiang Lihan was fired up with excitement. Yi Wanwan responded seriously. Gang leader Jiang, your request is too difficult. Aren't you asking for my death? If this was someone else, this request would definitely cost them their life. No one in the independent state would dare to do such a thing. But Jiang Lihan clearly raised such a request despite knowing it was impossible. Jiang Lihan blinked and asked, "You demanded my little treasure as soon as you got here. You're also asking for my life. I'm the one at a disadvantage." Yuanwan. How can this person be so shameless? Yuanwan answered, "Fine, I'll go. But we have a deal. Don't weasel out of it shamelessly after I've done the act." "You're really going?" TSK. I've always heard bro flat top is gutsy, but didn't expect that you were actually an idiot, not gutsy. An ignorant person is truly fearless and missing several brain cells. Jiang Lihan had a sympathetic expression on his face. Isn't someone who would run to do such a suicidal thing an idiot? Yuanwan took a deep breath and chanted to herself 100 times, 15,000 honor points, to keep herself from blowing up on him. "So will you play or not? As long as you agree, I won't go back on our deal." "I won't, I absolutely won't. As long as you dare." Jiang Lihan vigorously shook his head. "All right then." Just as Yuanwan was about to agree, Jiang Lihan suddenly revoked his demand. Paragraph break. "Hold on. I changed my mind. This isn't fun. It would be so boring if you ran away right after you kissed him." Yuanwan took another deep breath. "What else do you want?" Jiang Lihan reconsidered it for half a day. Hold on. There has to be a condition. There's gotta be a time stipulation. You need to kiss him for a full minute, and you must kiss his lips. Anywhere else won't count." Yuanwan rolled her eyes at him. "Boss, kill me right now." Read the next chapter on our VIP novel. Calm Jiang Lihan didn't seem to think he was too demanding. The kiss on the lips can't be changed, but the time can be slightly reduced. How about 30 seconds? How many seconds do you think it'd take for Lord Azura to kill me? And how about 10 seconds? It can't be any shorter. Yuanwan took a deep breath. Fine. If this was their honeymoon period, she could kiss him however long she wanted, but considering her current relationship with Si Yihan, lasting a mere 10 seconds was slightly dangerous. Coincidentally, shortly after she and Jiang Lihan finished negotiating, the sound of footsteps was heard nearby. Soon they saw two men dressed in bathrobes heading their way. Yuanwan recognized the man in front as the leader of Slaughter's Gate, Xie Qianchuan, and the man a step behind him was the protagonist of their bet, Lord Azura. Jiang Lihan urgently sent her a look. Action. Chapter 1987. The forcefully kissed Lord Azura Si Yihan was forcefully dragged there by Xie Qianchuan to soak in the hot spring and relax. Jiang Lihan and Si Yihan. One of them was lazy as heck and always ran off to have fun, slacking off and going on strike because Xie Qianchuan was too ugly, while the other worked day and night without rest and couldn't be pulled away from his work. He was seriously wretched by anxiety. Si Yihan's thoughts were still preoccupied by Yi Wanwan's message just now. He knew she had probably arrived at the resort already, but never would have expected to run into her here. And in this kind of situation too. Jiang Lihan was soaking in the hot spring and leaning against the side as he said something while looking happy. That guy, Jiang Lihan, liked to soak naked, so he definitely wasn't wearing a single piece of clothing. Although Si Yihan knew Yuanwan couldn't see anything from her distance and angle, this scene still made fury boil in his veins. Why's she here? What's she talking about with Jiang Lihan? Why do they look so happy chatting? When Yuanwan turned around, what entered her sight was Si Yihan's extremely awful and chilly expression. Ah, damn it, he really is still angry. What should I do? My honor points. At that moment, Jiang Lihan just had to mouth the sentence. Complete the task within 1 hour. To her. Yuanwan was about to pass out from anger. Why did this bastard keep randomly adding conditions in the middle of things? If she had to do it within 1 hour, this current moment was most likely the only chance she would get to see Si Yihan. Yuanwan was afraid Jiang Lihan would capriciously add another odd stipulation, so she had no choice but to swiftly sprint toward Si Yihan, mulling over her tactic as she stared at him. What should I do? If I kiss him as soon as I run up to him, it's very possible I'll be interrupted and won't last 10 seconds. After all, when that guy was grouchy with her before, he wouldn't let her even touch his hand, so how could he allow her to kiss him? However, if she needed to explain things to him, how the fuck should she start? As Si Yihan watched the girl suddenly charging up to him, his brows furrowed. Wan's expression looked very angry. She's angry. What's she angry about? Oh right, President Bai. Wan heard Jiang Lihan calling her again. Don't tell me he's adding another condition. In her urgency, Wan didn't have time to think anymore and fiercely pounced toward Si Yihan. As expected, she saw Si Yihan subconsciously leaning back to dodge her. So Wan leaned close to his ear and threatened him as she gritted her teeth. No. Dodging. You aren't allowed to move for 10 seconds no matter what I do. Otherwise, I'm going to bring a loudspeaker to the rooftop of the Martial Arts Union. Wan used the same trick as before. Si Yihan became dazed when he met her vicious gaze and really didn't move another inch. However, it wasn't due to her threat. It was because her eyes were so close to him. The brilliant light in her eyes was so close to him. He couldn't look away. Wan was surprised by this reaction and quickly stood on her tippy toes, snatching the opportunity to press a kiss on Si Yihan's lips. When her soft lips met his mouth, Si Yihan felt like he was awoken from a dream, disbelief brimming from his eyes, and his hand, which was next to her, reflexively lifted. He didn't expect her to suddenly kiss him there, so he dumbfoundedly stared at her. Wan thought Si Yihan was about to move away and became anxious. She tightly looped her arms around his neck, pulling him toward him and kissing him harder. At the same time, she quietly warned him, "No moving." Chapter 1988. Who gave her the guts? And so, Si Yihan's spine stiffened as he returned to being an unmoving statue, allowing the girl's lips to remain pressed against his. And he even softly bit her lips. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3 seconds. Si Yihan didn't know how much time passed, but it was long enough to make him understand this wasn't a delusion. At that moment, an enormous crash, accompanied by the sound of water splashing, was heard. Blah. Cough, 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 cough. Shit. Jiang Lihan shouted as he accidentally slipped into the hot spring from excessive shock. No way could he have expected this woman would seriously dare to kiss the guy. Damn. Who gave her the guts? Did she really want to die? Xie Qianchuan also looked astonished as he stood there, disoriented, as he stared in disbelief at the girl who suddenly launched herself at Si Yihan and forcefully kissed him. Where did this girl come from? Is she mad? Does she know what she's doing? Si Yihan, Lord Azura of Azura, actually got forcefully kissed by a woman in my territory? Damn. President Bai, aren't you too dicey? Not caring about life or death, and taking up arms at a moment's whim. You truly deserve the title of Bro Flat Top. Jiang Lihan finally managed to staggeringly crawl back up and gasp in amazement. He even started clapping. As he spoke, Wan reached 10 seconds in her kiss. Si Yihan really didn't move at all from start to end. Jiang Lihan felt like Si Yihan had to be stunned by anger, so he sympathetically looked at Wan and said, "President Bai, do you need me to go to the Fearless Alliance and inform them to start preparing your funeral and burial?" Then he turned to Si Yihan with a schadenfreude smile. Not bad, not bad. I successfully managed to see an incredibly shocked expression on this guy's face. Alas, this really wasn't easy at all. Next, he will definitely start killing people in his rage, right? Right. Hee. As Jiang Lihan thought that, he stretched his neck toward the duo and watched the upcoming show with immense anticipation. Xie Qianchuan was able to guess Wan's identity based on her outfit and Jiang Lihan's words just now. Although he was still clueless about the situation, he knew this woman was definitely going to die. However, it seriously wasn't appropriate to spill blood during today's circumstances. They came here to make alliances. Things would go down the drain if a leader suddenly died, and by way of murder too. What was most wretched was that this woman committed such a contemptible crime against Si Yihan. So how could she still be allowed to live? Xie Qianchuan was racking his brain on how he could convince Si Yihan to act otherwise, but was startled by the events a second later. Si Yihan's brain was still out of order earlier, but he quickly collected his thoughts, and could tell there was something fishy about Wan suddenly kissing him based on Jiang Lihan's reaction. He thought it was very probable Wanwan didn't kiss him because she wanted to kiss him just now. There was another reason. This knowledge turned the ice in Si Yihan's eyes into a blazing inferno. Phew. That was close, that was close. She reached 10 seconds. And Jiang Lihan personally witnessed it, so he couldn't deny anything this time, right? Yi Wanwan finally relaxed after meeting the terms, but instantly became dumbstruck when she met Si Yihan's flaming eyes a second later. I'm doomed. How should I placate this guy in front of me? About that, actually. I can explain. Yi Wanwan raised her hands, attempting to beg for mercy. Ahahaha. He won't allow you any time to say your last words. Jiang Lihan was still giggling and rejoicing in her misfortune. Annoyance filled Yi Wanwan's face. Why does this guy deserve a beating so much? No need to explain. Si Yihan's frighteningly chilly voice rang out next to her ears. Yi Wanwan's poor heart jumped in fright, and she urgently mobilized her brain cells to think of a solution. Si Yihan stared at her face intensely, and leaned down a second later, abruptly kissing her on the lips. Chapter 1989. Were neither pure nor innocent caught off guard by this kiss. Yi Wanwan was bewildered. Who am I? Where am I? What is going on? As for Jiang Lihan, he was originally waiting for Si Yihan to purge the place with blood, but instead, Si Yihan kissed her back of his own will. Jiang Lihan was absolutely stupefied and felt as if the deepest part of his soul just suffered a heavy blow. A second later, a plop was heard as Jiang Lihan, who just steadied himself, slipped back into the water. Xie Qianchuan's fisted hand covered his mouth as a round of intense coughing seized him. Gurgle gurgle. Jiang Lihan finally managed to get back on his feet after swallowing several mouthfuls of water. Jiang Lihan couldn't believe this scene before his eyes at all, and crazily rubbed his temples. No. I must have gotten dizzy from soaking in the hot spring for too long. However, while he was consoling himself a second later, he saw Si Yihan lean down and gently place a light peck on Bai Feng's lips again, as though savoring the last second. Then Si Yihan aloofly said, "We're even now." Jiang Lihan was stupefied. The question, did this world collapse on itself? Was written all over his face. How is this fucking even? Even if you beat him to death, he never would have expected this development. Si Yihan glanced at Jiang Lihan in the hot spring, and picked up a giant bath towel sitting on a nearby shelf before casually throwing it onto Jiang Lihan, tightly covering the man up from the face down. Jiang Lihan hastily pulled off the towel from his head. Shit, what are you doing? Are you trying to suffocate me to death? Si Yihan still wasn't satisfied and turned his gaze onto Xie Qianchuan. Although Xie Qianchuan was wearing a bathrobe, it was loosely open and the belt wasn't tied. Si Yihan stared at him. Belt. Tie it. Oh, okay. Xie Qianchuan had no idea why he felt scared by Si Yihan, so he obediently tied his bathrobe. What the heck was this? Ai, did you take the wrong medicine? Jiang Lihan incredulously looked at the man in front of him. Read the next chapter on our VIP novel. However, Si Yihan's world was obviously only composed of one person right now, so he ignored Jiang Lihan and turned to Yi Wanwan. Explain. It's over. He was finally executing me. Yi Wanwan played with her fingers and quickly admitted her wrongdoings without hesitation. I was wrong. After saying that, Yi Wanwan felt something was off. Why the heck did she have to apologize? Yi Wanwan immediately changed her attitude and self-righteously corrected herself. Wait. Why am I explaining? Are you saying I need a reason to kiss you? Looking at the girl's justified expression, Si Yihan couldn't figure out what to say. On the side, Jiang Lihan, who found himself feeling a little cold, looked at Si Yihan then Yi Wanwan, finally detecting something strange about the atmosphere around these two people. He forcefully flung off the towel on his head, and intently stared at Yi Wanwan as he angrily shouted, Hold on. Damn. Bai Feng, you freaking dared to trick me. You've long had an affair with this guy, right? Yi Wanwan. He finally realized. But it was too late now. Yi Wanwan seriously said, Nope, you're overthinking. We're pure and innocent. The second she said that, a slender finger gently rubbed her ear. Seeing her attempt to wash away her relationship with him in front of Jiang Lihan, Si Yihan's deep and husky voice spoke above her head, enunciating each word carefully. Pure and innocent. Chapter 1990. Do you want to see me lose control? Yi Wanwan's heart skipped a beat. She looked up at Si Yihan with a smile, and corrected herself. No, we're neither pure nor innocent. I was just fooling Jiang Lihan. I heard that. Jiang Lihan shouted. Yi Wanwan had no choice but to throw all caution to the wind. Ahem, fine, you heard it. Gang leader Jiang, it was you who set the conditions and you didn't ask whether my relationship with Lord Azura was pure and innocent or not. Don't tell me you're going back on your word now? Jiang Lihan wiped the water off his face, malice in his eyes. President Bai, nicely done. You even dared to trick me. He truly deserved to be the boss most guilty of monstrous crimes amongst the 3 leaders of prison. The aura he exerted when his expression darkened caused the temperature around the hot springs to lower several degrees. Yi Wanwan shuddered in fright and subconsciously hid behind Si Yihan. Si Yihan peered down at Yi Wanwan with his brows slightly furrowed before his gaze sharp as a sword shot toward Jiang Lihan, and the complete nakedness he revealed after standing up. Dress yourself. You think I'll get dressed just because you told me to? Jiang Lihan retorted with a cold expression, but promptly picked up the nearby towel with a swish 3 seconds later, and obediently wrapped it around himself. I'm just a little cold. It wasn't my fault. Yi Wanwan hastily scrambled to adamantly clear herself from this fiasco and assert her innocence. She swiftly shifted the blame to Jiang Lihan, selling him out. I merely came here to ask gang leader Jiang if he could lend me a hand and give me Scarlet Flame's Academy's school monument. Say, if he didn't want to give it to me, he could have told me. I wouldn't have raised any objections, but he tricked me. Wait, no, he tricked you. He said he specifically wanted to see what you looked like when your stoic face lost control, so he coerced me into forcefully kissing you and said he would give the monument to me if I dared to do it. Is that so? You want to see me lose control? Si Yihan asked. No, I didn't. I don't want to. Jiang Lihan fiercely glared at the tattling Yi Wanwan, nearly angered to the point of spitting blood. Fuck me. It was a private bet, but this gal actually tattled on me to the parent. Is she an elementary school student? Jiang Lihan was fuming with rage with gritted teeth, still unwilling to believe it. This is impossible. When the heck did you 2 get together? Doesn't Yi have an innocent, kind-hearted, perfect, and irreplaceable first love? Lord Azura and Bro Flat Top. What kind of strange pairing is this? Yi Wanwan was astonished when she heard that. This was a heavy load of information. It wasn't any inferior to that time when Autumn Water exposed her relationship with Ji Xiran. Si Yihan actually had a pure and kind-hearted first love. Yi Wanwan hummed before answering. That's right. I am that pure, kind-hearted, and perfect first love. Si Yihan. Jiang Lihan laughed in his anger. President Bai, don't you have any idea what your reputation is? Can't you have a little shame? Yi Wanwan's gaze instantly shot toward Si Yihan. Agio, your first love. Am I not that pure and kind-hearted first love in your heart? Si Yihan looked dazed and he didn't answer. Yi Wanwan intently bore into him. After what seemed like forever, a cool voice was finally heard. Yes. It was a short word, but it caused Yi Wanwan's heart to start pounding crazily. Pa-dump, pa-dump. Damn. It really was me. This is a little alarming? Yi Wanwan didn't know why. Perhaps it was her subconscious that made her feel like that person was her. However, she still couldn't help but feel fairly surprised when she really obtained a certain answer from Si Yihan. Chapter 1991. That is fairly thrilling. My image in Si Yihan's heart was actually this, horrifying, pure, kind-hearted, perfect, etc. Yi Wanwan's desire to remember what in the world happened in the past intensified immensely. Jiang Lihan lost the willpower to say anything else. Let me calm down. Gang leader Jiang, it's fine if you want to calm down, but can we cash in our bet first? Yi Wanwan hastily recalled their deal. Do you think I can carry such a large slab of rock with me wherever I go? Yi Wanwan grinned. Then I'll have to trouble gang leader Jiang to have someone send it over later. You're the boss of heavenly hatred, gang leader Jiang, so I'm sure you won't withhold a slab of rock from me. Jiang Lihan's heart was dripping blood. He never would have expected the boat to turn or fail miserably, and be tricked himself one day. Having obtained 15,000 honor points, Yi Wanwan's mood couldn't be any more elated. She turned to see Yihan with admiration. "Thank you, darling. You're seriously too awesome." "Jiang Lihan, it's me who's giving you the school monument." "What's awesome, huh?" He did nothing. At that moment, a continuous ringtone was heard. It was 7-Star calling Yi Wanwan. My deputy is looking for me. I'll get going now." She needed to hurry and dash before Jiang Lihan changed his mind. There were many things she wanted to know and ask Si Yihan, but this wasn't a good place for that conversation. After Yi Wanwan left, Jiang Lihan impatiently asked, "Shit, what in the world is going on between you and Bai Feng?" Si Yihan glanced at him aloofly. "It's exactly what you saw." "Damn, isn't this a bit too exciting? Wasn't the one who kidnapped you back then some insignificant lackey from the Fearless Alliance? I remember it was a pitiful, innocent flower forcefully abducted by the Fearless Alliance to slave for them? How did she become the notorious and monstrous president of the Fearless Alliance suddenly?" "Old Xia, I didn't remember things wrong, right?" Xia Qianchuan coughed lightly and answered, "I also remember it like that." Si Yihan's eyes dimmed, as though he was sinking into contemplation. In truth, ever since he learned Yi Wanwan became the president of the Fearless Alliance after returning to the independent state, he started suspecting this. And now his suspicion was about to be proven. He was afraid that she wasn't some lackey underling controlled by the Fearless Alliance. Instead, she was the president of the Fearless Alliance, Bai Feng. Jiang Lihan might have a terrible sense of humor, but he fulfilled his end of the bet rather quickly, and soon sent an enormous school monument to Yi Wanwan. When Yi Wanwan unveiled the red cloth covering the stone, and saw the characters, Scarlet Flame's Mercenary Academy, carved on it, she was grinning from ear to ear. She never would have expected to obtain 15,000 honor points just like that. "Ah, my little darling, my little precious, my honor points." In the midst of Yi Wanwan's burst of happiness, Big Dipper and 7-Star found her. Huffing and puffing, "Sis Feng, we finally found you. Where did you run off to?" 7-Star noticed the item in Yi Wanwan's hand. "This is... what is this?" Big Dipper focused on the item, and his eyes shot open. "Shit. The school monument. Isn't this Scarlet Flame's Academy's school monument? How did you get it, Sis Feng? You actually managed to get your hands on this from Heavenly Hatred's boss. You're out of this world, Sis Feng." Big Dipper's eyes were shining and his face was reverent. 7-Star also looked very shocked. "The leader of Heavenly Hatred isn't an amiable person. How did you successfully persuade him, Sis Feng?" Yi Wanwan grimly answered, That process was fairly thrilling. It was a narrow escape." Chapter 1992 even went on a secret date. Yi Wanwan bragged from the earth to the high heavens, and fabricated a giant battle, duping Big Dipper left and right. Although 7-Star felt something was amiss about this, he couldn't figure out how she managed to achieve this. "What should we do with this monument now? Where should we put it?" Big Dipper asked. Yi Wanwan instantly covered up the school monument, which was at least the height of an adult, with a piece of red silk cloth and hugged it. "Carry it with me, of course?" Big Dipper inquired. "Carry it with you? Isn't this a little big?" Yi Wanwan couldn't allow anyone else to bring it back without worrying, so she was adamant about personally delivering it to the academy and obtaining her honor points. This is 15,000 honor points after all. "Sis Feng, let me carry it," 7-Star offered. "No need. I can carry it myself." 7-Star. "Oh right, Sis Feng. You dashed off without a trace just now because you went to get this thingy?" Big Dipper asked. Yi Wanwan replied, "Yes, what about it?" Big Dipper carefully probed. "You didn't do anything else?" She was busy snatching the school monument, so she definitely didn't have time to do anything else, right? "I did. I even went on a secret date," Yi Wanwan responded. Big Dipper. Soon all the major leaders arrived one after the other, and the conference officially began in the evening. The conference room was alive with conversation. The majority of people were discussing how many leaders in the independent state mysteriously disappeared recently. I heard even Emperor Ji fell victim. Just who in the world is so capable? Who knows? At that moment, two figures entered the room steps apart. The leading Xie Qianchuan was wearing an iron gray suit and a grim, serious expression, while Jiang Lihan, who was behind him, strolled in lazily, seemingly in a bad mood based on his frightening expression. Everyone inside the conference room instantly quieted down, and their gazes shot toward the entrance. Yi Wanwan was sitting fairly far back, but she was holding an enormous object the height of a person with a bright red cloth covering over it, so she was rather eye-catching. Jiang Lihan paused in his steps and intently stared at the school monument in Yi Wanwan's arms, and wanted to spit out blood from his rage. Sensing Jiang Lihan's unfriendly gaze, Yi Wanwan's hold on the monument promptly tightened. "What are you doing? What are you doing? This is my little precious now. It's no longer your little darling." Ahem. Xie Qianchuan cleared his throat as a warning, and Jiang Lihan finally begrudgingly pulled his eyes away from the monument and started walking again before sitting down in one of the chief seats. Not long after Xie Qianchuan and Jiang Lihan sat down, the final leader of prison arrived. Silver-haired and black-clothed, with a handsome and perfect face akin to that of a vampire dwelling in the dark night. "Damn, this is Lord Azura, right? TSK, Azura has returned in a swirl of dust. Prison's might has redoubled. I heard that prison's directors might be Xie Qianchuan and Jiang Lihan on the surface, but this Lord Azura is prison's true brain and soul in reality. If it weren't for Lord Azura abruptly disappearing back then, perhaps even the Martial Arts Union wouldn't be able to suppress prison." Tisk. At the appearance of Si Yihan, Yi Wanwan was instantly energized, and her eyes shone as she turned to the man. Her gaze was truly too fervent, so Si Yihan couldn't ignore it even if he wanted to. His cool gaze involuntarily landed on her, but forcefully withdrew a second later. Upon seeing how he only locked his gaze with hers for a second before looking away, Yi Wanwan's expression darkened instantly and sullenness overcame her. "I merely kissed him. Does he need to be so petty? It was clearly an ability and duty well within my rights." Yi Wanwan was furious and only felt better after patting the monument by her hand. Forget it. At least he helped me earn so many honor points." However, Big Dipper just had to run his mouth off on the side. "Sis Feng, stop looking. He's not someone you can have the hots for, alright?" Yi Wanwan glanced at Big Dipper, unwilling to waste her words on him. Soon, First Elder, Second Elder, and some other members from the Fearless Alliance entered the conference room at the designated time and walked toward Yi Wanwan. "President, this is..." First Elder stared at the enormous, covered, and unknown object next to Yi Wanwan, astonished. Second Elder mused. Could this be the greeting gift that the president prepared for prison? Big Dipper chortled. "What are you saying? Sis Feng just stole this from prison." First Elder, Second Elder. At this conference, aside from all the notable bosses of the independent state, some higher-ups from various factions would also be present. Xie Qianchuan looked around the room, displeasure surfacing in his eyes uninhibited. They invited many people using prison's title, but less than half of the invited guests attended. Receiving an invitation from prison was truly an honor. Suddenly, the door to the room opened, and a beautiful woman entered first, wearing a long dress with an incredibly haughty expression. Ma, the Nye family. Some leaders couldn't keep the surprise off their faces when they saw the woman. They didn't expect prison to also invite the four great clans of the independent state. For all of history, the four great clans in prison had always minded their own business and nearly never had any interactions, so the Nye family's attendance this time was rather unexpected. Nye Linglong. When Yi Wanwan saw the woman leading the Nye family's group, her eyes glinted coldly. Nye Linglong was actually attending this conference as the Nye family's representative. Who's the woman behind Nye Linglong? Some higher-up asked curiously when they saw the woman behind Nye Linglong. You don't know? That's Nye Linglong's older sister and nameless Nye's younger sister, Worryless Nye. She's the legendary prodigy from the Nye family, the long-missing Worryless Nye? The one engaged to Emperor Ji? That's right. That's her. After learning about Worryless Nia's identity, some higher-ups or leaders all voluntarily greeted Nia Linglong with smiles on their faces. Everyone knew the Nia family had 3 children. The eldest was Nameless Nia, the second child was Worryless Nia, and the third child was Nia Linglong. Currently, Madame Nia was getting on with her years, so based on the Nia family's rules and customs, it would probably soon be the time for the next head to take over managing the entire Nia family. The eldest child, Nameless Nia, had a rather bold and unrestrained personality and didn't bother with trifles. He was even considered a bit of an oddball. He was also very outspoken and didn't have enough EQ, so he frequently offended people. Hence, the Nia family absolutely wouldn't be handed over to Nameless Nia. As for the third child, Nia Linglong, she was brought back to the Nia family by Worryless Nia back then, and was merely the Nia family's adopted daughter. Although she was more outstanding than Worryless Nia now, and was more suited for taking over the Nia family, she didn't carry the Nia family's blood herself, so she was an unlikely candidate probably. Hence, amongst the 3 siblings, the only possible candidate for inheriting the Nia family was this long-missing Worryless Nia. If they befriended Worryless Nia now, it would be the same as befriending the Nia family in the future. The Nia family was one of the independent state's 4 great clans, so there wasn't a faction that wanted to become enemies with them. Haha, they all say Worryless Nia of the Nia family has extraordinary looks and strength. Seeing you today, you truly deserve every bit of praise uttered. An elderly man said while looking at Worryless Nia, with a bellowing laugh. Worryless Nia immediately nodded at the elderly man with a smile in response. A moment later, Nia Linglong's gaze suddenly landed on the nearby Yi Wanwan, unconcealed disdain surfacing in her eyes. Worryless Nia followed Nia Linglong's gaze and turned to Yi Wanwan as well. She said genially, "It's President Bai." She paused before asking with a chuckle, "That's right, what identity is President Bai using to attend this conference?" Yi Wanwan looked to Worryless Nia and replied expressionlessly, "What do you mean?" "Not much. I'm just curious whether President Bai is attending this conference as the president of the Fearless Alliance, or are you attending as our Nia family's foster daughter?" The fake Worryless Nia snorted and her lips curled up as she continued, "Everyone probably doesn't know, but the mighty President Bai of the Fearless Alliance, the one people call Bro Flat Top because she's indifferent to life and death and would pick up arms in an instant, is currently pestering our Nia family. She's impersonating a normal woman to worm into our Nia family, and she coerced and conned my mother to take her in as a foster daughter." Many higher-ups and leaders looked surprised at her words. The Fearless Alliance would actually do something like that? Didn't the Fearless Alliance have a hostile relationship with the Nia family several years ago? But now, Bai Feng of the Fearless Alliance was impersonating a normal woman, and forcing Madame Nia to recognize her as a foster daughter? Wasn't this too? Haha, niece Worryless, as you said, this is the president of the Fearless Alliance. Everyone knows the Fearless Alliance's behavior and reputation in the independent state. Impersonating a normal woman and coercing Madame Nia to take her in as a foster daughter, isn't that typical? The Fearless Alliance has always been so thick-faced, a leader piped in with a smile. Zhou Tai, what does this have to do with you? Third elder looked at that leader darkly. I seem to remember that you have another batch of supplies to send out soon, right Zhou Tai? That's good. Our Fearless Alliance hasn't worked in a while, so just wait and see. The expression of the elderly man Zhou Tai shifted instantly. He stared at Yi Wanwan and coldly demanded, "This is the quality of the President Fearless, President Bai?" Yi Wanwan tilted her head and glanced at Zhou Tai before aloofly saying, "As you just said, Elder Zhou, our Fearless Alliance has always been this shameless." Veins popped out on Zhou Tai's forehead. "You're seriously freaking shameless." Before he could say anything else, the conference room door was opened again. A dozen or so elderly men entered the room with a man wearing a silver mask leading the way. Everyone's expressions shifted when they saw the newcomers. Yi Wanwan also couldn't withhold her astonishment. The Martial Arts Union? This chapter is scrapped from Riyadh light novel. Org Prison actually invited the Martial Arts Union this time too? Xie Qianchuan set his sights on the man and said, "Vice President, This is a conference summoned by prison. I don't quite remember when I invited the martial arts union. While he was talking, the vice president had found an empty chair to sit down on. He asked leisurely, "What? If the martial arts union wants to come, we need someone to invite us?" When Xie Qianchuan heard the vice president's response, his expression instantly chilled. As for the other factions, they were displeased, but no one dared to vocalize it or stick their necks out first. This vice president's words were extremely arrogant, but no one dared to refute him. The vice president's actions represented the entire martial arts union. Recently, many notable powerful figures in the independent state have gone missing, evoking fear in our residents. As the supervisor of the independent state, the martial arts union has the power to visit any place and investigate. Since prison initiated a meeting today and invited so many people, we came to take a look at the situation and listen to what you have to say. There aren't any problems with that. Who knows what you're plotting? Perhaps you were the culprits behind those people who went missing. It's hard to say, the vice president added. That seems reasonable. Reasonable your ass. What do the mysterious disappearances of Emperor Ji and those other people have anything to do with us? Exactly. You can abduct the sky or the earth, but who would dare to abduct Emperor Ji? They're talking so honorably, but who knows if it was the martial arts union who did it? Some higher-ups and leaders quietly discussed amongst themselves. All right, since the martial arts union suspects us to be the culprits, then you can investigate however you want. I truly hope you won't return empty-handed and will discover something, Vice President, Jiang Lihan said with a snort. The martial arts union did indeed have the power of supervision in the independent state, an outcome decided through election from all the powers in the independent state back then. Since the martial arts union wanted to supervise them now, then they would be allowed to supervise. After all, the martial arts union had this spare time, and prison wouldn't lose anything either. Otherwise, if they kicked the martial arts union out, the residents of the independent state might think prison was guilty if news of this got out. The members of the martial arts union had just settled down, and the meeting was about to start when a large group of people burst into the room all of a sudden. The leader was around 28 or 29 years old, and had an attractive appearance. He wore a normal casual outfit, but for some reason he looked feminine and soft. Haha, things are truly lively, the leader commented with a light chuckle as his eyes swept across the room. It's him. One of the 8 gods under Emperor Ji. The second-ranked Guyu? Guyu is only ranked second? I heard he's incredibly talented, and he's Emperor Ji's most capable general. His abilities aren't any inferior to Emperor Ji. Who's number 1? I'm not certain. Only 7 of the 8 gods underneath Emperor Ji have revealed their faces. The last person is extremely enigmatic, and no one has ever seen him. Some people even say the final god of the 8 gods has been Emperor Ji himself all along. Yi Wanwan recognized the man next to Guyu. It was Skeleton, the man who frequently stayed by Emperor Ji's side, and who was also one of the 8 gods. Have a seat, Xie Qianchuan said. Guyu smiled faintly and didn't waste any words before sitting down. Shit. Yi Wanwan's gaze coincidentally landed on one of the men standing with Emperor Ji's faction. This man was currently examining the room inquisitively. Yi Wanwan didn't know what to say. Why did Nameless Nia follow Emperor Ji's faction here and join in on the festivities? Yi Wanwan reflexively turned her head, hoping that Nameless Nia wouldn't see her. Haha, good sister, you're also here. The thing she was most afraid of happened anyway. Nameless Nia's gaze landed on Yi Wanwan, and he promptly strode toward Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan, what are you doing? Are you a zombie? Why aren't you getting a chair for me? Nameless Nia glanced at Big Dipper. Big Dipper had his mouth agape, clueless about this current situation. Since Yi Wanwan didn't say anything, he had no choice but to dumbfoundedly carry a chair and place it next to Yi Wanwan. After Nameless Nia sat down, Yi Wanwan immediately asked, why did you follow Ji Shiran's people here instead of following the Nia family's people here? Yi Wanwan really couldn't comprehend this. Nameless Nia was at least the Nia family's eldest son, Did he have to go to this extent? TCH, they wouldn't bring me, so what could I do? I could only follow old pal G's people here, Nameless Nya answered. Why did you come here? Yuanwan was curious. To investigate my old pal G's whereabouts, of course, and to see if there are any deals I can strike and earn some money and such. Nameless Nya grinned. Yuanwan. So investigating Ji Xiran's whereabouts was a cover-up, and looking for some business to earn money was the real deal, right? Yuanwan's heart immensely ached for Ji Xiran. Just what kind of friend did he make? Oh right, good sister. Nameless Nya naturally draped his arm around Yuanwan's neck and leaned in next to her ear before saying, how's your search for the antidote coming along? I'm truly beside myself with worry and heartache for you. Dead man told me you don't have much time left. Yuanwan. What the heck is you don't have much time left? Can't you filter yourself? Watching Nameless Nya latching his arm around Yuanwan's neck, a bone-chilling gaze shot from a certain man's eyes and pierced Nameless Nya. When Yuanwan sensed this icy chill, she couldn't help but shiver. Damn it, vinegar factory owner is starting to produce vinegar by the tons again. But this is my actual brother. Yuanwan had no choice but to naturally and inadvertently return Nameless Nya's arm to stop a certain someone from producing vinegar. Yuanwan didn't know if it was her misperception, but ever since she left the Fearless Alliance this morning, she felt something was wrong with her body. Doesn't this lousy place have any air conditioning? Why do I feel so hot? Nameless Nya was baffled. It's the middle of winter. What air conditioning? Yuanwan. Then why did she feel like an inferno was burning through her? Especially when her eyes met Si Yihan's. Read the next chapter on our VIP novel. Calm this entire time, that guy had an expression so frosty it formed icicles. What Yuanwan didn't notice was a handful of thin, light red lines faintly appearing on her neck and gradually spreading like a spider web. The final moment before the conference began. The members of the Shin family also arrived hastily. Aside from the Shin family, even the most low-profile of the four great clans, the Ling family, sent a representative there. The Ling family's representative was a middle-aged man. When the man entered the room, he couldn't help but take a few more looks at Yuanwan. When Yuanwan detected the man's gaze, she immediately looked over as well, but the man had already looked away and sat unmoving on his chair. Seeing that everyone had arrived, Xie Qianchuan and Jiang Lihan's eyes met before quickly announcing the start of the meeting. Prison is very grateful that everyone was able to come here today, Xie Qianchuan began. Jiang Lihan spoke next. Due to recent events, the topic of this meeting required a little adjustment. Everyone should know a certain event has been occurring in the independent state. A dozen or so good friends, including Emperor Ji, went missing mysteriously. We believe it absolutely isn't a simple matter. Yuanwan glanced at Jiang Lihan. Jiang Lihan had to be commended for having a silver tongue. Good friends? He probably had never even seen some of these people. I don't care about the others, but our own Emperor Ji also disappeared. I hope that every one of you here is clean and innocent. Don't let me find out who the culprit is. Or else, we aren't opposed to destroying the good and bad alike. I believe everyone knows my behavior and style, right? Guyu smiled faintly, his eyes sweeping across the room as he settled on the martial arts union for a few moments longer. Of course. Our martial arts union has been using every power within our reach to investigate this matter, so I'm certain it won't be long before a conclusion is reached. The vice president of the martial arts union amiably responded. This is considered a significant matter. Which of you is missing a boss? Relying on your own investigation alone. How long will that take? Nameless Nya said as he suddenly stood up. Hire me. My team and I are the most outstanding mercenaries in the independent state. As long as you pay us, my boss would be like my real mom and dad. I will dig 3 feet underground, no 30 feet, if necessary to find them. As long as payment is provided, there's nothing we can't do. Yuanwan. This isn't my real brother. I don't freaking know him. I absolutely don't. Everyone turned to Nameless Nya. Enough already. Who doesn't know Nameless Nya's team is a group of swindlers famous for taking the money, but not doing the work? One of the leaders said. Yuanwan. Who said I take money but don't do the work? Come out here and say that to my face if you have the guts. Since when have I ever taken the money but not done the work? Unless the money provided wasn't enough. Nameless Nya furiously shouted at once. This time, Yuanwan could verify for that boss that Nameless Nya and his team really took the money but didn't do much work. If you depended on Nameless Nya and his team to search for someone, that person would probably decay into a skeleton, and there still wouldn't be any progress. However, Nameless Nya's team was occasionally fairly reliable, but this freaking depended on luck entirely, alright? Come. Ask President Bai of the Fearless Alliance whether my team is efficient at our job or not, and whether we're the fastest and strongest or not. While Yuanwan was enjoying the show, Nameless Nya abruptly directed all inquiries to her. Never would Yuanwan have expected this. Yuanwan. You freaking. Embarrassment crawled onto Yuanwan's face when she saw a number of gazes landing on her. She had no idea what to say. Actually, they're fairly reliable. We've had several business dealings and Nameless team is very reliable every time. He was her actual brother after all, so Yuanwan could only ignore her conscience and lie. Ask Guyu and Skeleton next. They're part of Emperor Ji's group, Nameless Nya said. Guyu furrowed his brows slightly before nodding a moment later. Very reliable. However, regardless of how beautifully the picture was painted, no one believed it, and Nameless Nya's dream of becoming wealthy failed. Xie Qianchuan quickly returned to business. I received news yesterday that the clan leader of the ancient Jiang clan went missing yesterday when he went outside. No one has heard from him since. The leader of the ancient Jiang clan? Everyone's expressions shifted. The leader of an ancient clan? What kind of notion was that? He also disappeared. They all sunk into contemplation as they wondered. What in the world has been going on in the independent state lately? In the midst of fervent discussion, the door to the conference room was kicked open from the outside with a gigantic bang. The people in the room were instantly incensed. Every attendee of the meeting today was famous and respected. Who dared to act so insolently? A cold glint flashed through Xie Qianchuan's eyes while intrigue entered Jiang Lihan's face. He wanted to know who was in such a hurry to reincarnate. The man standing outside the door was expressionless and dressed casually. His head of long, ink-dark hair scattered down his back, touching his waist. He languidly walked forward, but his terrifying aura quickened everyone's breathing. Damn! Big Dipper visibly shuddered when he saw the newcomer. Piece of brother shit. Yi Shuihan walked to the center of the room carelessly like no one else was present, and he surveyed the seats packed with people before swiftly making his way to an elder from the Martial Arts Union. When Piece of Shit's gaze landed on him, the elder's brows locked together and sweat seeped onto his forehead. Move! Yi Shuihan aloofly commanded. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the elder from the Martial Arts Union had no choice but to grit his teeth and yield his seat. The amusement on Jiang Lihan's face disappeared completely, and was replaced by a seriousness never seen before. Brother Yi, why are you here? The vice president of the Martial Arts Union examined Yi Shuihan with astonishment. However, Yi Shuihan didn't give any response. Instead, he raised his arm before pointing at Jiang Lihan, the Xie Qianchuan, the Nya family, the Ling family, the Shen family, etc., who abducted the leader from the ancient clan. A while later, Yi Shuihan calmly raised this inquiry. Everyone in the room looked at each other, bewildered. Who abducted the leader of the ancient Jiang clan? How would they know? Even if someone abducted him, it had to be Piece of Shit who did it, right? Who in the independent state didn't know Piece of Shit wanted to annihilate all of the ancient clans? Was there some kind of misunderstanding? Doubt raised in Yi Wanwan's mind as she looked at Piece of Shit. Previously, she also suspected it was Piece of Shit who caused the disappearance of these independent state leaders. However, Piece of Shit came here without invitation today and asked that question. Who abducted a member of the ancient clan? Hand him over to me, and I'll let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, I will destroy your entire clan. Yi Shuihan's frightening gaze swept over everyone in the room, and his icy tone carried a pressure that made everyone unable to resist or refute him. No one dared to vocalize their rage toward Yi Shuihan's words though. They all wanted to have the capability to abduct a leader of an ancient clan. Brother Yi, I don't know about other people, but this matter absolutely doesn't have anything to do with our Nia family. Worryless Nia turned to Yi Shuihan and attempted to explain. Noisy, Yi Shuihan coldly responded with a glance at Worryless Nia. Worryless Nia. You. Nia Linglong furrowed her brows slightly but didn't say anything. You simply need to listen to me, Yi Shuihan interrupted. Brother Yi, this was a meeting called by prison. Even if you want to unleash your wrath, can you please wait until our meeting concludes? Xie Qianchuan asked the other man. Before Yi Shuihan could answer, Yi Wanwan mockingly glanced at the martial arts union and interjected. Knight-errant Yi, you can turn your questions to the martial arts union. The martial arts union are probably the only ones who possess the ability to abduct the leader of an ancient clan, no? Following her words, Yi Shuihan's gaze settled on the vice president. Don't kid with me. Why would our martial arts union do such a thing? The vice president countered coldly as he glared at Yi Wanwan. You. Take me to the martial arts union's headquarters, and let me investigate, Yi Shuihan ordered. Yi Shuihan, you'll believe anything other people say? The vice president sounded displeased. You wouldn't be afraid of ghosts knocking on your door if your conscience was clear. What do you fear? Yi Wanwan snorted. Yi Shuihan glanced at Yi Wanwan before saying, I don't care about other people, but you need to thoroughly look into the cases concerning the ancient clans. Send a representative to investigate the matter. I can help if difficulties arise. The Nia family is willing to investigate this matter. Nia Linglong suddenly stood up and turned to Yi Shuihan with a faint smile. My sister, Worryless, and I are confident we can get to the bottom of this matter. Who in this room didn't want to befriend piece of shit? If they could crack this case, not only would their reputation in the independent state skyrocket, but piece of shit would also owe them a favor. Me. I'll go. Yi Wanwan also stood up and yelled, eagerly raising her hand. Si Yihan looked at Yi Wanwan with a furrow of his brows. He couldn't help but feel exasperated. He should have known that since she was there was no way she could silently sit on the sidelines. This is the president of the Fearless Alliance. Brother Yi should know about the Fearless Alliance's nature. How can someone like her shoulder such a great responsibility? Moreover, how can the Fearless Alliance compare to the Nia family? Whether we're talking about our connections or strength. The fake Worryless Nia piped in. Yi Wanwan narrowed her eyes and turned to Worryless Nia. With her current identity as the president of the Fearless Alliance, her connections and strength were weaker than the Nia family's. But so what? Her support was strong. And her son was also Yi Shuihan's disciple. Everyone watched as Yi Shuihan nodded and said to Worryless Nia, Your words are reasonable. Worryless Nia's lips curled up, but before her smirk could fully form, she heard Yi Shuihan saying, Then I'll leave this matter to President Bai. Worryless Nia. Nia Linglong. Worryless Nia's face brimmed with disbelief. Mr. E, has your esteemed self mistaken something? Weren't Yi Shuihan's words the same as saying the Nia family's connections and strength were inferior to the Fearless Alliance in his mind? Yi Wanwan was dumbfounded too, and everyone else looked at each other blankly. People all said Yi Shuihan behaved strangely. It appeared they were right. At that moment, an incredibly excited voice shot out from the crowd. Ha ha ha, lil shit, you're finally here. Nameless Nia's eyes shone brightly as he stared at Yi Shuihan. Lil shit, let's fight. Yi Shuihan glanced at Nameless Nia, but didn't respond. Instead, he turned to the vice president of the martial arts union. Come with me. Let's go to your headquarters. After saying that, Yi Shuihan got up and left the room. Ridiculous. The vice president snorted. Since you're willing to waste your time, then I'll take you there, and you can see. After Yi Shuihan and the martial arts union group left, Nameless Nia scratched his head. Is lil shit scared of me? Yi Wanwan looked at Nameless Nia, her brows knitted. I don't think he's scared of you, then. Nameless Nia was confused. It's more like he looks down on you, Yi Wanwan said. What do you know? He merely didn't hear my battle declaration. Nameless Nya was fired up instantly. That's possible too. The original goal of the meeting today was to choose a representative and investigate the matter, but it appears a result was reached already, Jiang Lihan said. Prison originally intended to initiate an investigation into this matter, so they could expand their impact and influence, but the Fearless Alliance unexpectedly messed this up. Since there's a result, then the Nya family won't meddle in the matter. Aside from attending this meeting, the Nya family also came here today to announce something, Nya Linglong said after an imperceptible glance at Yi Wanwan. The Nya family has something to announce? Everyone focused their attention on Nya Linglong and her group. Nya Linglong solemnly said, according to the Nya family's customs, we will be inaugurating a new leader soon, and the leader has been chosen. Damn. The Nya family is switching heads. This is major news. Who'll be the new head? In the midst of clamorous surprise, Nya Linglong continued, the new head of the Nya family will be my elder sister, Worryless Nya. I hope everyone here can attend the ceremony. The invitation will be delivered within the next few days. Yi Wanwan was enraged and turned to the devil-may-care nameless Nya standing next to her, wishing nothing more than to club him. Just how did this nameless Nya get by? Wasn't he the eldest son of the Nya family? How come he couldn't even win the position of the leader in the end? Are you a pig? Yi Wanwan disappointedly stared at nameless Nya. Nameless Nya pursed his lips. What can I do? I had an argument with my mom. It's pointless. Yi Wanwan sighed helplessly. Relying on nameless Nya to compete in this kind of thing? Forget it. Yi Wanwan immediately looked at Nya Linglong and the fake worryless Nya. Fine, I've been waiting for this day. You want to take control of the Nya family? I'm ready. When night descended, the conference finally ended after all the utter chaos. Yi Wanwan was a bit anxious when she saw Si Yihan about to leave. She wasn't able to speak to him much today. Shit, what's going on? The moment Yi Wanwan stood up, her breathing halted and she felt like blood was rushing to her head. Sis Feng, what's wrong? Big Dipper reached out to catch her. Yi Wanwan held her head. I'm fine. Big Dipper exasperatedly looked at the monument Yi Wanwan was still holding. It must be because the monument is too heavy. We said we would carry it for you. Yi Wanwan immediately shot him a look and intensely stared at Big Dipper's hand. Move your hand. No touching. Big Dipper hastily pulled his hand back. Fine, fine, fine. I won't touch it, I won't touch it. Move it yourself, all right. 7-Star glanced at Yi Wanwan in unease, sharply detecting something off about her current condition. Why did Sis Feng's breathing seem so disordered? Sis Feng, do you feel unwell somewhere? 7-Star asked. First Elder also looked at Yi Wanwan and exclaimed in surprise. At President, why is your breathing so disrupted? Yi Wanwan rubbed her pulsing temples. Nothing. My body just feels a little strange. Big Dipper questioned. Strange? Where? Yi Wanwan glanced at Si Yihan, and a single glance caused her heart rate to rapidly speed up and her blood to rush toward her head. Shit. What's wrong with me? Don't tell me I'm so useless that I can't even take a look at him, right? What was more frightening was that she ineffably found Si Yihan's clothes to be a particular eyesore. Sis Feng, just where do you feel unwell? Let me find a doctor to help you take a look? Big Dipper hastily asked. Yi Wanwan peered at Big Dipper and expressionlessly replied, I suddenly really want to rip Lord Azura's clothes off of him. Can the doctor treat that? Big Dipper. 7-Star, First Elder, Third Elder. The nearby Fearless Alliance higher-ups. Chapter 2001. Big Dipper kept swaying side to side, blocking Yi Wanwan's sight. Yi Wanwan irritatedly smacked him to the side before marching toward Si Yihan. Shit. Hurry and stop Sis Feng. What is she doing? She isn't really going to rip. Big Dipper didn't have the nerve to finish his words. Terror struck the members of the Fearless Alliance, and they scrambled to chase after Yi Wanwan. Thankfully, she was carrying a giant piece of rock still and couldn't move quickly. Moments after Si Yihan walked out of the conference room, Yi Wanwan swiftly blocked his path. Esteemed Lord Azura, I have something to say to you. Yuanwan barely got out half of what she wanted to say when a mass of people from behind her worked together and dragged her away. Si Yihan's gaze followed Yuanwan. You have something to say to me? As Big Dipper, First Elder, Third Elder, and the other members forcefully pulled Yuanwan away, they simultaneously shouted, No, she doesn't. Yuanwan replied, I want to. No, she doesn't want to. They yelled. After saying that, they rapidly dragged Yuanwan away like they had Hot Wheels under their feet, running faster than rabbits as they left a gust of wind behind. Si Yihan. The group didn't relax until they ran far into the distance. Fuck. That was seriously too thrilling. Thankfully, they managed to restrain the president or else catastrophe would have struck them. Since it was late after the conference ended, prison arranged accommodations for all the attending factions. The Fearless Alliance was placed on the westmost side, and food and drink were waiting for them already when they arrived. First Elder walked to the table and carefully poured a cup of herbal tea for Yuanwan as he earnestly persuaded. President, although the Fearless Alliance isn't afraid of anything, well, there's always an exception to the rule. Am I right? Third Elder agreed on this rare occasion. That's right, that's right. First Elder is correct. That sir is enigmatic, and really isn't someone we can provoke. Moreover, this is prison's base camp. Yuanwan first cautiously placed her precious school monument on the side, before taking a seat. She propped her chin on her hand and peered at her subordinates from the corner of her eyes. I merely wanted to chat with him. Look at how worried you guys are. What are you guys thinking? All of you. Why are your thoughts so impure? Who was it who said something frightening like she wanted to rip off his clothes? Big Dipper asked. Even if I said that, how could I do that to Lord Azura now? If I wanted to do that, I would wait until no one else was around. Big Dipper, you can't even if no one else is around, alright? The Fearless Alliance was in the midst of a breakdown when Nameless Nya burrowed into the room from somewhere, and plopped himself down next to Yuanwan before stretching his neck and shouting, Owner, where's the menu? Quickly bring the menu here. Only then did Yuanwan notice that Nameless Nya had actually followed them here for some reason. Why are you also here? Nameless Nya grinned. Aren't you about to eat dinner? Perfect. I also want to eat dinner. Isn't it more lively eating dinner together? You're just here to freeload. Yuanwan countered. Good sister, listen to yourself. What's our relationship? How can you call it freeloading? A family eating dinner together is absolutely natural. Yuanwan. He was seriously calling her good sister more and more smoothly. At the same time in a courtyard on the eastern side, the bright moon hung above while several simple dishes laid on a small rectangular table that sat under the shadow of a tree. The food had turned cold already, but it was completely untouched. A man had just finished showering and slowly walked toward the table in his loose pajamas. His gaze was fixed to some point in the sky and his expression was dazed, as though he'd traversed through time and fallen into some distant memory. On a wall overgrown with moss, a girl dressed in clothes redder than fire brazenly and arrogantly invaded his world. What? You're saying no one likes you? That's too coincidental. My name is no one. Unsuitable? Non-existent. I'm suitable for all occasions. Hey, can you lend me something? Lend me a kiss, Kay? I'll definitely return it to you. Ninth brother. Ninth brother. Ninth brother? When Lin Kay's voice traveled to the man's ears, his absent-mindedness instantly transformed into his usual unchanging iciness. You need something? Ninth brother, what are you thinking about? I've been calling you for half a day, but you didn't answer. Lin Kay grumbled quietly before answering. I've arranged to have people look into those missing people's whereabouts. And Lin Kay sighed with resignation. He just knew Ninth brother absolutely wouldn't ignore tasks that Yuanwan took on. Oh right, there's another matter I have to report to you. Lin Kay was about to continue his report when his gaze coincidentally landed on Si Yihan, and he jolted in fright. Shit, Ninth brother. What happened to your body? What? Si Yihan turned to Lin Kay with confusion. Lin Kay was shocked as he stared at the exposed area near Si Yihan's collar. Red lines densely covered the skin under his neck like a spider web. Si Yihan followed Lin Kay's gaze. and also discovered the bloody red lines on his skin. After his slender fingers pulled open his pajamas, the scene was more frightening. Bloody lines had enveloped his entire body, stretching from his neck to his collarbone, his chest, his abdomen, dipping into the areas his clothes covered still. Fuck, what's going on? You got poisoned, ninth brother? Lin Ke was greatly shocked. Si Yihan intently stared at the red lines covering his body before calmly answering a moment later. It's the love goo. Lin Ke was stunned. The love goo? The love goo is flaring up? Isn't there at least another week before it flares up? What do these bloody lines mean? Si Yihan, the bloody lines meant the deeper and more loyal the goo victim felt toward their loved one, and the more they longed for their loved one, the more intense the effects of the red lines. When Lin Ke calmed down slightly, he discovered something was amiss. Hey, wait, didn't they say that girl Yuanwan has the antidote? I thought the poison was cured already. So why the heck is it flaring up out of nowhere? An imperceptible exasperation flickered through Si Yihan's eyes. She clearly didn't take the antidote. In the Western court, Yuanwan felt something was incredibly off about her body, and didn't have the energy to pay attention to nameless Nia. She lifted the teacup and downed the cup of herbal tea in one go, but still felt her heart burning and blazing afterward. The symptoms didn't abate in the slightest. Yuanwan slammed the cup on the table with a bang. Freaking, just what the heck is going on? I feel like I'm about to have an out-of-body experience. Her current condition was severe enough to the point of her soul escaping her control and flying away to who knew where. Yuanwan grimly announced, I think I might need to drink some alcohol to calm down. Swish, swish, swish. The bottle of liquor on the table was flung far away by First Elder using his internal energy. At that moment, Big Dipper suddenly gasped in shock, seemingly discovering something. Shit. Sisfong, what's going on with your neck? My neck. Yuanwan reflexively peered down at her neck and saw a dense mass of spider web-like red lines had appeared by her collarbones. Ah, what the heck is this? Yuanwan was astonished. Big Dipper was flabbergasted and his eyes bulged out for half a day. When did you get a tattoo behind our backs, Sisfong? Tattoo your ass. Seven Star hastily grabbed Yuanwan's hand and rolled up her sleeves, only to see shocking red lines covering her wrists as well. And those bloody lines were spreading at a speed naked to the human eye as though they had a life of their own. It didn't take long for them to crawl to the back of Yuanwan's hands. Could it be you're poisoned? Seven Star muttered with a terrible expression. First Elder and Third Elder also leaned in. I haven't heard of any poison that has this kind of effect though? While they were embroiled in discussion, nameless Nia, who was stuffing his mouth without abandon, shouted, Damn! Nice, my sister. Your love goo is flaring up. Nameless Nia's words were like boiling water that splashed into a pot of oil. Seven Star became stunned. What did you say? Big Dipper was stupefied. Huh? The love goo flaring up? Yuanwan also turned to nameless Nia dumbfounded. Isn't there at least another week before it flares up? Nameless Nia took a bite of his chicken thigh, feeling melancholy. Well, I'm not sure. Yuanwan nearly slapped his face as she angrily roared. You're the one who made this love goo. How can you be unsure? Nameless Nia wore an innocent expression on his face. It's dead man who made it, not me. I'm merely a middleman at most. Yuanwan, middleman your ass. At first, Yuanwan was poisoned by the mutually in love goo, and merely needed to get together with a person she liked within 12 hours to cure the goo. What was awful was that this mutually in love goo mutated and successfully evolved into the King of Gus, the love goo. This time limit of 3 months was hypothesized by other people who were past victims of this goo. In reality though, since the goo in Yuanwan was an accidentally evolved version, and different physicians produced different Gus and goo victims had different physiologies, unexpected conditions could arise. Developing a love goo was too difficult and very, very few people fell victim to this goo. So hardly anyone knew all of its symptoms. Big Dipper was dumbstruck. What should we do? Autumn Water hasn't found an antidote yet. She said she asked Emperor Ji for help, but Emperor Ji is missing right now. Yuanwan felt dizzy and her vision was blurring. Her head turned groggy like someone had poured lead in it, and the heat in her body caused her to nearly explode. She bellowed, "Stop freaking wasting your words. Do you have some rope?" Big Dipper hastily parroted, that's right, rope. Old 7, hurry and find some ropes to tie Sis Feng up. Otherwise, it'd be a disaster if she really charged to do something to Lord Azura impulsively. Yuanwan panted heavily and kicked Big Dipper. "I'm telling you to abduct Lord Azura for me." Big Dipper, 7 star, First Elder, Third Elder, and the others, Nameless Nya stuck up his thumb. "You're truly my sister." "I'm telling you to abduct Lord Azura for me." Yuanwan had just hollered this when Si Yihan and Lin Ke hastily rushed over from the back door. The duo's figures were hidden behind a large tree, and they happened to overhear Yuanwan saying that. Si Yihan, Lin Ke's lips spasmed. "This girl looks rather lively still. However, I'm afraid you won't need to abduct a certain person. He came here himself." Big Dipper had an expression of misery and despair. "We're doomed, Old 7. The poison has already taken over Sis Feng's heart. She's blabbing nonsensically." It took 7 star, Big Dipper, First Elder, and Third Elder fiercely pressing her down together to barely succeed in restraining her. Yuanwan couldn't hear anything Big Dipper and the others were saying since her body felt so awful she wanted to explode. The effects slammed into her body too rapidly and caused her to lose her mind within mere minutes. Big Dipper was sweating profusely. We can't. If this continues and Sis Feng loses control and pounces on Lord Azura, we'll be doomed. Let's hurry and take Sis Feng away, then inform Autumn Water to bring that doctor who's developing the antidote to us. I heard the doctor say she must cure the goo within 2 hours of it taking effect or else it'd all be over. That's the only method." 7 star agreed. The Fearless Alliance was about to escort Yuanwan away when Nameless Nya urgently leaped up and shouted, Hey, why are you looking for a doctor? I have the antidote here." "What? You have the antidote?" Everyone's eyes were fixed on Nameless Nya. "That's right," Nameless Nya replied. 7 star asked, "Why do you have the antidote?" Nameless Nya had a matter-of-fact expression. "I had it all along." Then he leaned close to Yuanwan. "Good sister, look, thank goodness I'm here today and encountered your early love goo flare-up. Your luck is seriously great, sister." Yuanwan glared at him. "Get lost." Calm down. Since your poison flared up, you can't be too temperamental. If you're too temperamental, it'll cause your blood to flow faster and speed up the poison. You have no right to talk." 7 star coldly stared at Nameless Nya. "You really have the antidote?" Nameless Nya pursed his lips. "I already said I did. Ask your president if you don't believe me. Your president also knows. It was your president who adamantly refused my antidote." 7 star glanced at Yuanwan in astonishment. The president didn't want the antidote? Nameless Nya sighed in exasperation. "It's true. Ask her yourself if you don't believe me. I already gave her a 50% discount, but she wouldn't buy it." 7 star and the others were startled. They couldn't figure out what trick their president was trying to pull. Big Dipper urgently pressed, "Sis Feng, why wouldn't you take the antidote if there was one?" Yuanwan sternly responded, her expression akin to a soldier who would rather die than give in. "All of you go away. I won't take it. If I have to rely on taking an antidote to cure the love goo, where's my freaking pride?" The members of the Fearless Alliance silently stared at their staunch, esteemed president. How should they comment on their president? Lin Ke, who heard everything clearly from behind the tree. Si Yihan kneaded his temples. "I should have known." 7 star felt a pounding headache, but could only scrounge up his patience to persuade her. "Sis Feng, you can't be willful. Your poison has flared up already, and you have less than 2 hours. You must consume the antidote as quickly as possible." After saying that, 7 star had no mind for anything else and hurriedly said to Nameless Nya, "I don't need a discount. I'll buy it at full price. Just give me the antidote immediately." "You aren't allowed to buy it. I won't take it even if you buy it. Yuanwan shouted. Ah, Sisfeng, enough already. If you don't take the antidote, how can you cure the goo? That prideful way of curing the goo you want is impossible, alright. You might even die faster. I won't. The courtyard fell into a stalemate until First Elder's eyes shifted and he idly said, My esteemed president, if you don't take the antidote, Lord Azura will also die. Death is as heavy as Mount Tai, but also as light as a goose feather. Can you bear to watch a beautiful man die with you? Yuanwan was startled. That's right. After this love goo takes effect, both people will die together. And they will die very miserably, blood flowing out of all crevices and ulcers covering their mouths. There were less than 2 hours remaining. With Si Yihan's terrible personality, if she waited for him to be willing to cure the poison with her, perhaps the weeds at their graves would be as tall as a person by then. Third Elder frantically chimed in. President, look at a great beauty as good-looking as Lord Azura. Can you bear to let him die so miserably? That's right, Big Dipper added. Yuanwan patted the school monument in her arms, and turmoil enveloped her face for 3 seconds before she finally acquiesced. Nameless Nya, give me the antidote. This is great. They really had to pinpoint Sisfeng's weakness. Lin Ke also relaxed behind the tree. Good. This girl is finally willing to take the medicine. Everything would have been fine if she took it long ago. On the other side, after Yuanwan relented, Nameless Nya swiftly dug out the antidote and handed it to her. Yuanwan accepted a small, jade-green bottle, and tipped out an ivory-white object in the shape of a pill. She seriously said to Nameless Nya, You said 50% off. Nameless Nya facepalmed. My good sister, you're still bargaining with me at a time like this? Tell me, will you sell it 50% off or not? Yuanwan wore a stern expression, looking very much like she would toss her life away if he didn't agree. Nameless Nya felt like he'd met his match for the first time in his life. Yes, I'll sell it. I'll sell it at 50% off to you. Only then was Yuanwan satisfied and grudgingly take the antidote. Was there anyone whose life was more tragic than her? She degenerated to the point of needing to take an antidote. Seconds and minutes went by. Sisfeng, how do you feel? 7-Star anxiously asked. Other people also worriedly observed Yuanwan's reaction. Nameless Nya relaxedly clapped his chest. Don't worry. Everything will definitely be cured after taking my antidote. The goo will be cured within 1 minute. 7-Star glanced at the time on his phone. This minute passed very fast, but it was also as slow as a light year. Yuanwan sat in her chair, silently waiting for the antidote to take effect. Soon it was about time. Nameless Nya asked with a grin. How do you feel, sister? Is it a lot better? Do you feel a lot clearer? Are the red lines all gone? Yuanwan was silent for a dozen or so seconds. Nameless Nya, are you freaking kidding me? Yuanwan felt her head was about to explode and veins pulsed on her forehead. Clear my ass. Thoughts of him dominate my mind still. Was this him referring to Lord Azura? Or that vinegar factory owner? Or that patriarch of the sea family? Big Dipper was very befuddled. As Yuanwan said that, she pulled up her sleeves and revealed the bloody lines that sprawled all over her body in a more terrifying manner. Also, tell me, you think this is the bloody lines disappearing? I'm about to turn into a bloody person. Big Dipper stared at Yuanwan's wrist, dumbstruck. Shit, Sisfeng. What's going on? 1 minute has passed though. Why's it more serious? More red lines had appeared on Yuanwan's body than before, and they were a deeper red than earlier. They were so red that it looked like blood would start dripping at any second. The other people also became anxious and started inquiring. What's going on? Didn't you say it'd cure everything? Nameless Nya cautiously took a step back. Wait, no, this isn't logical. Why is it useless? Dead Man said the goo insect would definitely die within a minute, and all the bloody lines would be erased. Yuanwan was furious. Logical your ass. This thingy was illogical to begin with. So does your lousy antidote work or not? Just what in the world is going on now? 7-Star asked. Nameless Nya started. Ahem, well maybe probably perhaps, the antidote, isn't effective. How can the antidote be ineffective? 7-star pressed. Well, since the mutually in love goo mutated, it actually isn't improbable for the antidote to also be ineffective. Nameless Nya answered. Yuan shouldn't have depended on this idiot, Nameless Nya, to be reliable. Big Dipper was dumbfounded. So what the heck should we do now? Nameless Nya weakly said. Now there's clearly only one method left. What method? 7-star asked. Find the carrier of the child goo to cure the goo. Nameless Nya answered. 7-star. Big Dipper, First Elder, Third Elder, and the other Fearless Alliance members. Find the carrier of the child goo? Find Lord Azura to cure the goo? Find Lord Azura to cure to goo? Then isn't Sisfong dead for sure? Big Dipper blurted out. 7-star also looked extremely unwell, and only sheer willpower allowed him to stop himself from erupting. He turned to Nameless Nya and asked, if the goo poison takes effect, what would Lord Azura's symptoms be? Nameless Nya thought about it before responding. The goo poison will amplify a person's inner desires, and the reaction would be more significant the more deeply the carrier loves someone. There would also be more bloody lines, and the color would be darker too. Of course, if Lord Azura is pure of heart and barren of desires and doesn't like anyone, then he wouldn't show any symptoms when it takes effect. Realization dawned on Big Dipper. Shit. No wonder Lord Azura didn't have any reaction earlier. I was thinking that it was impossible. Speaking of which, isn't it a bit tragic that Lord Azura hasn't done anything but has to die as well? If you don't like me and don't get together with me, then you have to die. This love goo was truly perverse. Then is it possible that Lord Azura obtained an antidote himself and cured the goo, so our president is also fine? After all, Azura has more means than us, so there's no way they would allow their Lord Azura to die. 7-star said with a last trace of hope. Nameless Nya explained. Currently you can only cure the goo by killing the mother goo, but we can't eliminate the possibility that an antidote to kill the child goo has been developed. However, the love goo has a special trait. If the mother goo dies, the child goo will also die, and both people's poison will be cured. However, if the child goo dies, the mother goo won't die. Hence, if Lord Azura got his hands on an antidote that could kill the child goo inside of him, Lord Azura would be fine, but your president, she'll die for sure. Big Dipper was stupefied. Shit, then aren't we fucked? Lord Azura's child goo is probably cured already, which is why they aren't worried in the slightest. At the same time, behind the tree, when Lin K heard Nameless Nya saying, the reaction would be bigger the deeper the carrier loves someone. There would also be more bloody lines and the color would be darker too. He instantly turned to study Si Yihan's neck. Si Yihan had switched into a confining black suit, so the bloody lines couldn't be seen from his exposed skin. However, when Si Yihan unbuttoned his pajama shirt earlier, Lin K clearly saw the bloody lines that densely covered Si Yihan's body. It was very horrifying. Si Yihan peered down and slowly raised his hand, only to see the spiderweb red lines already spreading to his palm. Lin K caught a glimpse of Si Yihan's palm, a shocking sight. Shit! He wanted to take a closer look, but Si Yihan had dropped his hand and concealed his palm. Lin K coughed lightly. Ninth brother, what should we do now? Before Lin K could finish speaking, Si Yihan took a step and walked out from behind the tree. Lord Azura. When the babbling Big Dipper and Nameless Nya saw Lord Azura appearing from behind, they were instantly silent as chickens who got their throats pinched. At the same time, everyone's gazes studied the man in front of them like they had X-ray vision. In contrast to Yuan's hazy consciousness and body covered in bloody lines, Lord Azura couldn't look any more normal. Hence there were two possibilities. The first possibility was that Si Yihan was pure of heart and barren of desires and didn't like anyone. The second possibility was that Si Yihan had obtained an antidote and killed the child goo already. Regardless of which possibility it was, their president was dying for certain. This knowledge caused despair to fill the faces of the Fearless Alliance members. They were seriously doomed. But why did Lord Azura appear at a time like this? Big Dipper looked anguished as he trembled in fear. We're finished. Is Lord Azura enraged from the humiliation and remembered all conflicts between them, so he's finally going to kill Sisfong? Third Elder. Most likely, First Elder. I tried to tell the President to think carefully and to not provoke this demon. What should we do now? Sweat drenched the faces of the Fearless Alliance members, but they hastily protected Yi Wanwan with vigilant expressions. However, the man's gaze shot past them and directly landed on the girl. Then his long and slender legs brought him closer to her, step by step. By this time, Yi Wanwan's vision was rather blurry already, but she could still instinctively recognize this person in front of her. Bye-bye. What is Sisfong saying? Big Dipper asked. Yi Wanwan's voice was too quiet so no one could hear her clearly. Bead after bead of sweat densely covered Yi Wanwan's forehead, and her body was swaying. As soon as she saw the man, all her grievances rushed out and she pitifully murmured, "Baby, I don't want the antidote. I want you to hug me." As she said that, she opened her arms toward the man. This time, everyone distinctly heard every single one of her words. Their president actually wanted Lord Azura to hug her. Big Dipper nearly peed in his pants and his ability to speak was lost. Esteemed Lord Azura, forgive her. Our president. She is. While the Fearless Alliance was spooked out of their minds, they watched as the Lord of the Night in his dark black suit slowly strode toward their president like the King of the Night before pausing in front of her. He knew he shouldn't, but he was incapable of refusing her. The girl had her arms open to him like a chick who hadn't shed her fur yet. Her eyes were full of reliance, and one look was enough to pulverize all of his walls. A second later, the man slowly extended his arms and gently pulled the girl into his embrace. Since this man's aura was too powerful and frightening, everyone from the Fearless Alliance forgot to stop him and blankly watched this scene unfolding. May I ask, what happened? Was this a new form of martial attack? The second Yi Wanwan was pulled into Si Yihan's arms. She was like a little boat that finally found its harbor in the expansive sea, and she docilely pressed closer to him. When her scent invaded his space and intertwined with his, Si Yihan's eyes contracted instantly. In truth, when the goo poison took effect, he merely felt like he missed her more than normal. Aside from that, nothing else was different. Only the red lines on his body reflected his true response. Perhaps it was because he longed for her enough already even when the goo poison wasn't flaring up. Si Yihan helplessly sighed as he looked down at the girl in his arms. Then he bent down and reached one arm under her knees, wanting to pick her up. However, he didn't succeed. Too heavy. Si Yihan glanced at the stone by her hand. Traces of a meltdown faintly perceptible from the corners of his eyes. Let go. Yi Wanwan used the last of her consciousness to fiercely shake her head. I can't. This is my little precious, little darling. It's valuable. I can't let go, Si Yihan. This moment everyone, including Nameless Nya and Lin Kei, was dazedly watching Yi Wanwan and Si Yihan. Si Yihan hesitated for a second before lowly saying, "Do you want that or do you want me? You can only choose one." Slap. Yi Wanwan threw the school monument away without any hesitation, and tightly latched her arms around Si Yihan. Her answer was fairly decisive. Shit. Yi Wanwan had thrown the monument too fast, so the other people had no time to react, but Big Dipper sprang from his spot and narrowly managed to catch the monument. Looking at the heartlessly abandoned little darling, little precious, everyone was at a loss for words. Of course, what shocked them even more were Lord Azura's incredulous words and behavior. 7-Star deliberated his words for half a day, but still had no idea what to say when faced with this scene before him. It was the same with the others. A strange, deadly silence descended on the courtyard. However, at that moment, as though their president thought their world hadn't collapsed enough, she clung onto Lord Azura and tilted her head, daintily asking, I also want a kiss. Kiss me, Big Dipper, 7-Star, First Elder, Third Elder. The Fearless Alliance higher-ups, Merciful Buddha. Countless pairs of eyes swished toward Lord Azura simultaneously. If Lord Azura suddenly unleashed his wrath, they could at least try to snatch their president's wretched life from the tiger's mouth. The intense and numerous pairs of eyes around Si Yihan caused him to frown lightly. The symptoms inside Yi Wanwan's body were becoming fiercer and fiercer. Her breathing was harsh and hurried, and her body felt like boiling hot water. The only thought left in her mind and body was the desire to kiss this person in front of her and possess him. Yi Wanwan requested with dissatisfaction. I also want a kiss. Right now, he was the only thing remaining in her mind and heart. He was the only one in her clear, radiant eyes. This scene was the most wonderful and luxurious scene he had ever witnessed in his life. Si Yihan's cool eyes slowly mellowed out, and he finally discarded every piece of his armor. As though he was compromising, he carefully leaned down and softly pressed a repressed and reserved kiss on her forehead. A loud crash was heard a second later as Big Dipper lost his hold on the school monument, and it heavily slammed onto the ground. Thankfully, the monument was of good quality, so it didn't break. Other people's jaws also dropped to the ground. Only a tidbit of their souls remained from that scare. They had probably gone mad, right? Right. Lord Azura kissed their president. It was Lord Azura who kissed her? It wasn't their president who forcefully kissed him? However, Yi Wanwan was obviously unsatisfied with this forehead kiss and grievously reached out to touch her forehead. She unhappily complained. So half-hearted. Again. Faced with her complaints, Si Yihan cleared his throat. Later, all right. The Fearless Alliance group had turned into a forest of statues as they froze in their spots, their minds in utter chaos. Who were they? Where were they? After appeasing the girl, Si Yihan finally managed to direct some attention to the Fearless Alliance group, whose world had collapsed several times already. He aloofly swept his eyes over them before coolly saying, I'll return your president to you tomorrow. Before her subordinates could respond, Yi Wanwan interjected, Don't need to return. Don't need to return. President, you can't do that, okay? Without that giant school monument, Si Yihan managed to successfully pick Yi Wanwan up this time. He felt her boiling forehead before swiftly leaving the courtyard. It wasn't until the duo had disappeared that the Fearless Alliance finally shook off their trance. Shit. President. Sis Feng. Their president was taken away just like that. What the heck was this situation? Before the Fearless Alliance group could become a bigger ball of chaos, Lin Kei, who hadn't left yet, took a step forward and cleared his throat. Well, you can head back first. Don't worry, we'll return your president tomorrow. Damn it, he just ran off like that and left me behind to clean up his mess again. But the goo poison in the president. Someone quietly cut in. Lin Kei said, the goo poison in your president will naturally be fine tomorrow. Naturally be fine tomorrow? What did this mean? It couldn't be what they were thinking, right? Their president and Lord Azura? This speculation terrified everyone out of their minds. At that moment, all that everyone could think of was the spoiling indulgence that Lord Azura treated their president with. Everyone was still drowning in the sensation of their world shattering and collapsing. Yi Wanwan was carried inside a black car, and the car slowly drove toward some unknown destination. She had no idea where the car was heading, but she felt oddly at ease as long as this person was next to her. Her escaping spirit also returned to her body. After an unknown amount of time passed, the car stopped in front of a secluded building. Yi Wanwan foggily surveyed the scene in front of her, and discovered this place to be an abandoned building at the back of Azura's headquarters. What caught her attention was that this place gave her an oddly familiar feeling. Soon, Si Yihan carried her inside the house. This place might look barren and run down from the outside, but it was a different world inside. It was decorated nicely and obviously looked like someone regularly cleaned it. Yi Wanwan was dazedly carried by Si Yihan into the master bedroom on the second floor, and placed on a sofa draped with a white, soft blanket. Sit down. Don't move. After Si Yihan helped the girl into a sitting position, he immediately grabbed her hand and rolled up her sleeves to carefully inspect her arms. Okay. Yi Wanwan obediently sat down and allowed him to examine her, her gaze trailing after his movements. The bloody lines followed her wrist and stretched upward, probably covering everywhere else as well. The doctor previously said the more bloody lines there were when the love goo flared up, the bigger the emotional fluctuations, and the deeper the longing for their loved one. Right now, who is the target of her lines? Thinking up to this point, Si Yihan's grasp around Yi Wanwan's fingers clenched. He was trying to calm his mind when a shadow fell over his head, quickly followed by several strands of dark black hair falling down onto his neck and shoulders, tickling the spots they touched. Her breathing abruptly approached him and a soft and warm kiss landed on the corner of his mouth. Si Yihan. The sudden kiss pulled Si Yihan's back taut as a bowstring. This extremely light kiss sent all of his thoughts scattering every which way. After a brief shock, Si Yihan grasped her shoulders and pushed her farther away from him. Yi Wanwan instantly looked like she'd been deceived. You promised. You promised you'd do it again later. I've already waited, and this is already later. I waited for a lot of laters. Si Yihan took a deep breath and finally gathered his thoughts a little. Wanwan, take a good look. Who am I? Pig trotter. You promised. You promise later. Yi Wanwan intently stared at him, peculiarly stubborn about this promise from him earlier. Si Yihan took another deep breath. Wanwan, do you remember what I said to you before? This love goo is extremely complicated. If the slightest error occurs, you promised you'd do it again later. Si Yihan finally discovered a truth. It appeared he shouldn't even think about continuing this conversation, unless he kissed her again. Si Yihan met Wanwan's bright but stubborn eyes and pinched his brows with a headache. Then his broad hand gently cupped the back of her head, and he lightly pressed a kiss on her lips. He originally intended to simply placate her, but when he came into contact with her soft warmth and approached her so intimately, he felt all reason escaping from his body. When he finally regained his wits, his kiss had turned very serious and incredibly not half-hearted. As for Yi Wanwan, she had secretly unfastened his collar at some point in time, loosened two of his buttons, and turned his lapels into a disheveled mess. Yi Wanwan resentfully stared at her grasped hand. Ajio, tell me truthfully, do you not love me anymore? Don't tell me you have a lover on the outside. Who is it? Si Yihan. How could he not love her? She was the only source of meaning and light in his desolate life. And I even love you to death and devotedly want no one else but you. Her words were akin to white arsenic corroding his heart, but they were also encased in such sweet syrup that he would willingly drink it. Si Yihan was silent for some time before finally uttering, Wanwan, I know you're currently trying to recover your memories. Yi Wanwan's expression was startled, and her foggy brain instantly cleared greatly. She didn't expect Si Yihan to suddenly bring up this topic that they had been purposefully avoiding for so long. Si Yihan knew. The thing I regret most in my life is that time I forced you in Jean Garden. I'm sorry. I should have apologized to you a long time ago. This kind of event should have been wonderful, and shouldn't have occurred under those circumstances. Si Yihan's voice was brimming with sorrow. Yi Wanwan reflexively asked, if it shouldn't have occurred under those circumstances, then under what circumstances should it have occurred? Si Yihan answered with difficulty. If you recover your memories one day and still think that the one you like is me. Yi Wanwan's face paled. By that time, I'll be a corpse and the weeds at my grave will be taller than my son. Si Yihan. In truth, he still had a dose of the antidote prescribed to him by a doctor he found for security measures. The doctor successfully developed it not too long ago, and said there was a 90% chance of curing the goo if she took it. And so Si Yihan started, I have an antidote here. You can take it now. As soon as Yi Wanwan heard that, she pushed him forcefully back onto the sofa without any hesitation. Excitement radiated from her eyes, and she smacked a kiss on his face. Really? I can take the antidote now? Si Yihan. I wasn't talking about this kind of antidote. However, Yi Wanwan didn't want to listen to his explanation, and swiftly pulled open his collar with her fingers. Si Yihan had too many misgivings right now. After all, this love goo was abnormally dangerous and truly didn't allow for any errors. He couldn't risk her life. His mind instantly cleared, and he was about to push her away when something flashed across his vision. as though an object had fallen from her neck and started swinging in front of his eyes. He discovered the new red rope around Yi Wanwan's neck earlier, but he didn't know what was hanging from the rope since the object was hidden by her clothes. Due to Yi Wanwan's actions just now, the object hanging from the red rope fell out, and it turned out to be his cufflink. He absolutely wouldn't mistake that familiar obsidian cufflink. It was the one he donated to the charity banquet. Si Yihan incredulously stared at the cufflink, his throat turning dry and his icy blood warming, and suddenly starting to boil. His cufflink had been hooked with a red rope and was closely worn around her neck, demonstrating just how much she treasured it. Knowing this caused his heart to wildly beat to the point of turning him numb. Si Yihan rigidly extended his hand and picked up the cufflink hanging from Yi Wanwan's neck. It took him a moment to locate his voice, which was hoarse and husky. Didn't you throw this cufflink away? That day, she was so angry and said she was going to throw it away. Yi Wanwan peered down at the cufflink hanging from her neck, and felt her face heat up, when she realized Si Yihan discovered it. She put on a stern expression and grumpily harumphed. Why would I throw it away? Why are you such a spendthrift? I spent at least $1 on it. The moment she finished talking, she felt her world turning on its head, and their positions instantly switched. A second later, his kiss, an eruption and loss of control after prolonged restraint, fervently pressed down and crazily invaded every inch of sweetness inside her mouth. When Yi Wanwan opened her eyes, she crashed into his seemingly scarlet-red eyes, which were brewing with a terrifying onslaught. The sight astounded her. This antidote. It might be somewhat indigestible if I took it. Yi Wanwan was metaphorically swaggering around with her chest puffed just a second ago, but had now turned into a cowardly chicken. His gaze might be crazed and frightening as it locked onto her, but his movements were shockingly gentle. He lightly picked up her soft hands and slowly pressed them against the spot above his heart. Yi Wanwan immediately felt how his heart was pounding extremely fast, beating against her palm. Si Yihan buried his head against her neck and fiercely gasped for breath as he guided her hand to his lapels. Wanwan, take it off for me. Yi Wanwan. Why is my antidote so brazen suddenly? I can't take it. What should I do? Just what the heck happened? Didn't he merely see the cufflink hanging from my neck? You take it off yourself. Don't you have hands? Yi Wanwan quietly grumbled. You once said you must be the one who does this step since you like this process. No way. I wouldn't say such a thing. You clearly said I was pure and kind-hearted and perfect. What a sin. Although she didn't want to admit it, those words did sound like something she would say. She was growing more and more curious how in the world she got with Si Yihan back then. Back then did I take the lead? I didn't force you, right? Yi Wanwan was suddenly worried about her character, and imagined a melodramatic pillaging scene in her head. Si Yihan's eyes became dazed, as though he had fallen into a reverie. It took a moment before he answered, yes. Haha, I knew it. Si Yihan continued. On the surface it did look like you took the lead and forced me. What a sin. Yi Wanwan silently covered her face. Hold on. What do you mean it looked like that on the surface? What about in reality? In reality, she never knew it was him who deliberately seduced her from start to end. He knew well that it was impossible. But he wanted her too much, wanted to keep her too much, wanted to possess her too much. In reality what? What? Yi Wanwan curiously inquired, her eyes wide. What answered her a second later was his enveloping kiss, making her instantly forget what she wanted to ask. She was picked up and gently placed on the soft bed. Her fingers were guided to slowly shred away that high-class suit until she could touch his boiling skin directly. The white bed curtain was lowered, and the vase of roses on the bedside swayed and shook. The coolness in the man's eyes transformed into a magma-like inferno. Wanwan, even if you regain your memories one day, I was able to make you forget him once, so I can make you forget him a second time. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.